My wife is a beautiful CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Martial Arts Realm. In the garden. Mr. Zhao, what is Mr. Huang's success rate this time? Zhou showed a trace of worry on his face. He had been defeated by Su Chen many times, and he was really afraid of another accident. Zhao Shiji smiled coldly. Don't think that all my men are like trash like you. Zhou's expression was ugly. He wanted to say, Aunt Feng Dao, Iron Fist, and Li Ziyang, Flying Knife, your men? Didn't they also fall into Su Chen's hands? However, he didn't dare to refute Zhao Shiji. Zhao Shiji seemed to see what Zhou meant. He sneered that Su Chen, his martial arts skills are indeed something. However, Huang Rongxiang is different from Feng Dao, Iron Fist, and Li Ziyang. In addition to his amazing martial arts skills, he is also particularly good at poisoning and disguise. Who knows, now Zhao's catering group has diners who have died of poisoning. Haha. As soon as he finished speaking, a black-clothed bodyguard came over. The bodyguard whispered a few words in Zhao Shiji's ear. Ha ha ha. Zhao Shiji looked overjoyed. He said to Zhou, Mr. Huang successfully poisoned the Chunjiang Road branch of Zhao's fast food chain, causing food poisoning to more than a dozen people. Moreover, one diner died. Now, the health department has been forced by public pressure to seal off the Chunjiang Road branch. Ha ha ha. Zhou was overjoyed. He clasped his hands and said, Mr. Zhao, I'm just looking at the world from a narrow perspective. Master Huang is indeed a master. Zhao Shiji looked pleased. Haha. It's a small matter. You will see more of this kind of thing if you follow me in the future. Zhao's fast food chain is just Master Huang's first target. In order to make things worse, now, the food poisoning incident at Zhao's catering has been reported in the newspaper. Master Huang's next target is Ruai Restaurant, a high-end hotel under Zhao's catering. Once Ruai Restaurant has another incident, the reputation of Zhao's catering group will be completely ruined. Zhao Shiji showed a grim smile on his face. If the reputation of food safety is ruined, the Zhao group will collapse in an instant. Now, even if they guess that I did it, they can't do anything. It's too late to recover the reputation of Zhao catering. Ha ha ha. Zhou also sneered. Now, those bastards of the Zhao group will suffer enough. Suddenly, Zhou thought of something. He said, Mr. Zhao, I'm not worried about the Zhao family. It's just that Su Chen, he is a country bumpkin, and he doesn't play by the rules. Zhao Pingjiang and Zhou Wanqiu, father and daughter, may not be able to do anything to us. But Su Chen, that bastard, may come to us. What should we do? Come to me. Zhao Shiji smiled coldly. With Master Zhang here, I'm afraid he won't come. Zhou looked at the white-haired old man on the side. The old man was dressed in a Taoist robe and had a head full of white hair, which gave him a sense of being ethereal and otherworldly. Could it be that this is Master Zhang Guanshan? Zhou asked respectfully. That's right. Zhao Shiji nodded. Although the four masters of our Zhao family are known for their swords, knives, fists and feet, this is not a ranking based on strength. In fact, Master Zhang is the first among the four masters. Iron Fist Feng Dao, Flying Knife Li Ziyang, Shadowless Kick Huang Rongxiang. Although they are all masters of dark power, they are weaker than Master Zhang. I'll tell you the truth. Master Zhang is no longer just a dark power master, but has taken a step towards Zuan power. Zhao Shiji looked proud. Mr. Zhao, you are too kind. At present, I'm not considered a Zuan power, but ordinary dark power masters can't last more than 3 moves under my hands. The white-haired Taoist Zhang Guanshan also looked proud and pretended to be polite. Zhou was shocked. In the past, he had heard Liu Zuan talk about the different levels of martial arts cultivation. Practicing martial arts hard and tempering muscles and bones. As long as you can endure the hardship, most people can become Ming power martial artists. Continue to practice hard. If there is a chance to transform Ming power into dark power, you can become a dark power martial artist. After becoming a dark force martial artist, you are already a master in the eyes of the world, welcomed by dignitaries, and can easily become their personal bodyguard or guest. If you are a little bit lucky, or get help from a master, and embark on the path of Zhou Wanqiu, you will directly become a superior person. The wealthy businessmen in ordinary cities do not dare to offend a master of Zhou Wanqiu easily. Seeing He Zhenshin's admiring eyes, Zhao Shiji showed a proud smile. He said, "Master Zhang, you can show us your skills." Zhang Wanqiu nodded and grabbed the sword from the side. Swoosh! The sword was unsheathed, and the cold light was awe-inspiring. Then, Zhang Wanqiu danced casually. In an instant, dozens of sword flowers appeared in an instant. Zhang Wanqiu's Taoist robe fluttered, and his sword was amazing, looking ethereal like a fairy. He Zhenshin frowned slightly. If it was just like this, it would not be seen that there was anything amazing. He asked Zhao Shiji, "Mr. Zhao, this?" Before He Zhenshin finished speaking, Zhao Shiji raised his hand and motioned him to continue watching. Zhang Wanqiu waved his sword, but his movements became slower and slower. However, the sharp sword in his hand trembled a little. "Watch it!" Zhang Wanqiu shouted. The sword in his hand trembled more violently as it was slowly waved. Finally, he suddenly chopped out. In an instant, a white sword light shot out from the sword. Swish! Snap! A loud sound rang out. In front of the sword, a landscape tree as thick as a bowl was cut in half. The upper half of the trunk fell directly to the ground. The cross-section was like a knife cut. At this time, Zhang Wanqiu's sword was still 2 meters away from the tree. Sword ki leaves the body. This is sword ki leaving the body. It is really the Zhou Wanqiu that Liu Zuan said. "Master Zhang, you are a master of Zhou Wanqiu." He Zhenshin was overjoyed and looked at Zhao Shiji and Zhang Wanqiu with more respect. As expected of the Zhao family, the richest family in Bincheng, they actually have a master of Zhou Wanqiu. Zhang Wanqiu was very satisfied with He Zhenshin's attitude, but he still waved his hand and said, "I'm not a master of Zhou Wanqiu yet. I can only be considered half a step into Zhou Wanqiu." He Zhenshin didn't listen to this and flattered him on the side. "Master Zhang, your skills are like those of immortals. How can you not be a master of Zhou Wanqiu? You are too modest." Zhang Wanqiu smiled proudly and didn't explain anymore. He knew in his heart that he had not reached Zhou Wanqiu. That sword energy was just a shortcut he took through the Guanqian sword technique to condense and release it. If he was a real master of Zhou Wanqiu, he didn't need to dance with the sword flower to accumulate power, but a casual strike would be a sword energy. He Zhenshin and Zhao Shiji didn't know this martial arts secret. Seeing that Zhang Wanqiu was so powerful, they were completely relieved. "Mr. He, are you still worried about Master Zhang here?" Zhao Shiji asked deliberately. He Zhenshin said, "Of course I'm worried. But I'm worried that Su Chen, that bastard, doesn't dare to come to us." Haha. The two of them burst into laughter. At this moment, bang, a loud noise was heard. The door exploded. The bodies of several black-clad bodyguards were thrown directly into the yard. "Who is it? How dare you come to my Zhao family to cause trouble?" Zhao Shiji's face changed. He suddenly stood up and shouted. At this moment, a reply came from outside the door. "Aren't you afraid that I won't come? Here I come." The voice fell. A figure slowly walked in from outside the door. It was Su Chen. Chapter 102. The Zhao family's Zhou Wanqiu master. He Zhenshin's expression suddenly changed. He cursed. "Su Chen, you bastard, you actually dare to come?" Su Chen looked at He Zhenshin and sneered. "It seems that you have chosen this good master. I'm curious, can he cure the poison in your body within 3 days? He Zhenshin's face froze, not knowing what to say. "Humph." Zhao Shiji snorted coldly. "Are you Su Chen?" Su Chen nodded. Zhao Shiji said, "I will give you a choice now. Recognize me as your master, and then cure He Zhenshin's poison. I will forgive your previous mistakes, and give you a chance to live. And, I will give you a reward that is 10 times that of the Zhao family. Want me to surrender to you?" "Sure." Su Chen sneered. "Just pay me with your life." Zhao Shiji's face changed drastically. "Arrogant." "Su Chen, since you don't know what's good for you, I will kill you today, to avenge Feng Dao and Li Ziyang." "Master Zhang, do it." Zhao Shiji finished speaking, and took a step back. Zhang Zhenren's robe fluttered, and his hair and beard stood up. Swish. He drew his sword out of its sheath and began to swing it. The sword seemed slow, but was actually fast, and it trembled wildly, bringing with it waves of sword chants. Su Chen, don't be arrogant, take my Guanshan sword technique. Zhang Guanshan wanted to use the same move as before to cut Su Chen with sword energy. Su Chen looked at him and said disdainfully, is this what you rely on? Taking shortcuts to see the mysterious power? Let me teach you. After Su Chen finished speaking, he stretched out his hand and pulled it in the air. In an instant, countless strong winds surged, and the surrounding flowers, plants, and trees were blown and rustled. The next moment, a wind blade was instantly formed in Su Chen's hand. Seeing this scene, Zhang Guanshan was completely heartbroken. He was stunned in place, and the sword in his hand stopped waving. You are the mysterious power. Zhang Guanshan's voice trembled. After speaking, he turned around and ran away. However, everything was too late. Su Chen waved the wind blade casually. The wind blade grew longer with the wind, and suddenly it exploded, and a stream of energy rushed directly to Zhang Guanshan. Swish! With a sound, Zhang Guanshan was like a rag doll hit by a knife, and his body was instantly torn into pieces. Looking at Zhang Guanshan's body broken into 2 pieces, Zhao Shiji and He Zhenshin were stunned. Master Zhang! Zhao Shiji exclaimed, his face full of disbelief. Zhang Guanshan's strength was deeply rooted in his mind. However, he never expected that Zhang Guanshan, who was like a god in his eyes, would be split in half by Su Chen's knife. He Zhenshin was also stunned. He had tried to overestimate Su Chen, but unexpectedly, he still underestimated him. You actually killed Master Zhang. Do you know that he is the chief worshipper of my Zhao family? Zhao Shiji's face was full of anger. Su Chen said disdainfully, I have killed 3 of the 4 great masters of swords, fists, and feet of your Zhao family, so this one is not a big deal. Zhao Shiji's expression changed drastically. What did you say? Did Huan Rongxiang also? Su Chen nodded. That's right. He successfully poisoned the fast food chain in Zhao City, but I stopped him at Ruai restaurant. Zhao Shiji's face was ugly. He knew that the plan to ruin the reputation of Zhao's catering group had completely failed. Good. Su Chen, you are very good. Zhao Shiji gritted his teeth, his face full of viciousness. If you kneel down now, beg for mercy from me, and recognize me as your master, I will give you another chance. Otherwise, I will let you know the consequences of offending my Zhao family. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Su Chen casually swung out a stream of energy and hit Zhao Shiji directly. Zhao Shiji felt like a sledgehammer hit him in midair. In an instant, he spurted out a mouthful of blood and his body flew backwards. Are you still asleep? Su Chen looked at Zhao Shiji coldly, as if he was looking at a fool. This Zhao Shiji, he feels too good about himself. On the side, He Zhenshin was so frightened when he saw this scene that he dared not speak. Zhao Shiji covered his chest and struggled to sit up from the ground. He said in disbelief, you actually dared to attack me. Su Chen smiled coldly, I don't dare to attack you, but I want to kill you. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Zhao Shiji's face changed completely. Before this moment, he naively thought that, even if Su Chen killed Feng Dao and Li Ziyang, he would not dare to really offend him. But he never expected that the guy in front of him was a killer, and he didn't care about his identity as the son of Bincheng's richest man. No. Su Chen, you can't kill me. My father is Zhao Changling, the richest man in Bincheng. If you kill me, you're finished. Zhao Shiji said anxiously. However, Su Chen ignored him at all, and continued to move forward step by step, like the god of death holding a sickle. Zhao Shiji was really scared. He got up suddenly, and knelt on the ground. Please, don't kill me. I apologize to you. I apologize to the Zhao family. I will never do anything to the Zhao family again, please. Let me go this time. Su Chen's expression was indifferent. It's useless for you to apologize to me. You should go to the Hades Hall to apologize to Wang Hagen. As soon as the voice fell, Su Chen waved his hand and hit. Zhao Shiji spurted blood and fell to the ground and died, his eyes still full of disbelief. He didn't expect that he would be killed like this. He didn't even understand who Wang Hagen Su Chen was talking about. Bang! He Zhenshin knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Su Chen repeatedly. Su Chen, don't misunderstand me. I'm not here to seek refuge with Zhou Shiji. Some of my shares are in the hands of the Zhou family. If I want to transfer the shares to Zhou Wanqiu, I must go through Zhou Shiji. Su Chen sneered. Do you believe this yourself? Zhenshin looked desperate. He never thought that the arrogant richest man in Bincheng would be so vulnerable in front of Su Chen. Su Chen said calmly, don't worry, I won't kill you this time. Zhenshin looked surprised and looked up at Su Chen. Boom. Su Chen hit Zhenshin again. Zhenshin felt the blood in his body surging wildly, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. I will stimulate the toxins in your body to one day. If you don't complete all the procedures within one day, you will definitely die. Su Chen said calmly. Zhenshin looked as hen. Su Chen continued, I will spare your life, so that you can help me find Zhou Changling to send a message, and ask him to prepare 50 million yuan in compensation. Otherwise, I will come to pick it up in person. Zhenshin didn't dare to ask more questions and nodded repeatedly. Okay, I will definitely help you pass the message too. Su Chen said, and turned and left. Zhenshin hurriedly called someone to pack up the bodies of Zhou Shiji and Zhang Guanshan, and rushed to Zhou Changling's residence. Zhou's villa. Son. My dear. Zhou Changling, the richest man in Bincheng, cried miserably. He threw himself on Zhou Shiji's body and cried bitterly. After a moment, he raised his head, his eyes full of bloodshot and hatred. Tell me, which bastard killed my son? Zhou Changling's face was full of murderous intent. Zhenshin's thighs trembled. Although he was also a giant in Bincheng, he was far inferior to Zhou Changling. He trembled and told the whole process again. Zhou Changling was chilled all over. You are just a country bumpkin, and you dare to speak so arrogantly. You killed the 4 masters of my Zhou family, and killed my Jia, and you dare to ask me for compensation. If the tiger doesn't show its power, you think my Zhou family is a sick cat. It's just a master of Zhuanjin. Don't you think my Zhou family doesn't have it? Zhou Changling gritted his teeth and beat his chest in anger. Zhenshin was shocked. In the past, he only heard that the Zhou family had 4 masters of dark energy, sword, fist, and foot, but he didn't expect that the Zhou family actually had a hidden trick, a master of dark energy. This time, Su Chen had hit a wall. Zhenshin was secretly happy, but at the same time he was worried that after Su Chen was killed, no one would be able to cure the poison in his body. Zhou Changling naturally didn't care about Zhenshin's little thoughts. He turned and walked out of the hall, and walked towards a secret building. Mr. Shen, Zhou Changling wants to see you. Please help me kill someone. I'm willing to pay you 100 million. Chapter 103, Top 10 Saint Hands List. Bang. With a loud noise, an old man with white hair and a youthful face rushed out of the secret building. The old man was dressed in linen and was short, but he gave people a strong feeling. When Zhou Changling saw the old man, he became more respectful and bowed with his fists. Mr. Shen, my son Shiji and the 4 masters of my Zhou family were all killed by Su Chen. I beg you to help them avenge. After the matter is done, I'm willing to pay you a reward of 100 million. Shen Zhongyuan smiled. Okay. Mr. Zhou has supported me for several years. Even if I don't pay, I should help Mr. Zhou once. Mr. Shen, don't be polite. Zhou Changling waved his hand and said, support is support, but the reward for helping cannot be cancelled. He knew Shen Zhongyuan's character that valued money as his life, so he would not take his words seriously. Sure enough, after saying this, Shen Zhongyuan's face was overjoyed. Okay, Master Zhou, give me the information of that person. I must complete the task before dark. Shen Zhongyuan said confidently. After Zhou Changling sent the information to Shen Zhongyuan, he gritted his teeth and said, Mr. Shen, this time, I not only want Su Chen to die, but I also want the entire Zhou family to die. I want to let the people of Bincheng know who has the final say in Bincheng. Shen Zhongyuan looked at the information. No problem. This Su Chen has a little bit of cultivation, and the other Zhou family members are just ordinary people. Consider it a gift from me to you. Zhou Changling nodded, and said with some concern, Mr. Shen, I heard that Su Chen's cultivation may have reached the level of Zhuanjin. When he killed Zhang Guanshan, he condensed a wind blade. It seems that he has reached the level of releasing internal energy. You must not be careless. Shen Zhongyuan smiled coldly, haha. He is only in his early 20s. Even if he has excellent talent and can release internal energy, he has just entered the early stage of Zhuanjin. And I have reached the Zhuanjin realm for 8 years. Killing him is easy. As he spoke, Shen Zhongyuan took a deep breath. The next moment, he was like an inflatable doll, and his chest and abdomen expanded rapidly. Ha! Shen Zhongyuan shouted angrily, and his chest and abdomen shrank rapidly. But a gas arrow spurted out from his mouth. The gas arrow, with the force of thunder, sprayed towards the rockery in the distance. Boom. There was a loud noise. Rocks flew and dust rose into the sky. The huge rockery was pierced by a gas arrow. Zhao Changling was stunned. Is this the power of Master Zhuanjin? Master Zhao, I wonder how you feel about this old man's move. Can Su Chen withstand this gas arrow of mine? Shen Zhongyuan said with a proud expression. Zhao Changling was stunned for a long time before he came back to his senses. He looked ecstatic. Master Shen, you are really a god. That little thief Su Chen, even if he has been practicing since his mother's womb, can't reach your level. Shen Zhongyuan was full of complacency. Of course. Please wait patiently, I'll be back soon. As he spoke, he stomped his foot on the ground, and his figure flashed, and he was already outside the villa. Zhao Changling reminded loudly again, Master Shen, don't forget the Zhao family. Kill all the Zhao family members. Don't worry. Wait for my good news. Shen Zhongyuan's voice came from afar. Zhao Changling looked vicious and sneered. Su Chen. Zhao family. This time, I will let you know the consequences of offending me. On the other side, after Su Chen left Zhao Shiji's villa, he returned to Ruai restaurant again. Zhou Wanqiu had not left yet, but was here to hand over Huang Rongxiang to Li Wandao. Li Wandao could unblock the Chunjiang Road store earlier, if he had the poisoner in his hands. Seeing Su Chen coming back, Li Wandao said hello to Su Chen, before saying goodbye and leaving. Zhou Wanqiu was a little surprised to see Su Chen. She didn't seem to expect that Su Chen would come back so soon. What? Didn't you find anyone? Zhou Wanqiu asked. Su Chen said calmly, found it. I have killed Zhao Shiji and a man named Zhang Wanshan. In addition, I asked He Zhenshan to send a letter to Zhao Changling, asking him to pay 50 million yuan in compensation, to compensate those who were poisoned by food. Zhou Wanqiu glanced at Su Chen, his face full of disbelief. If you didn't find the person, just say you didn't find him. What are you bragging about? Su Chen was about to explain. Suddenly, ding-ling-ling. Zhou Wanqiu's cell phone rang. Su Chen had to shut up first. After Zhou Wanqiu answered the phone, his face suddenly changed. After hanging up the phone, Zhou Wanqiu's face was pale and panicked. What's wrong? What happened? Su Chen asked hurriedly. Zhou Wanqiu's voice was filled with tears. Su Chen, my dad was assassinated and was seriously injured and dying. Before he fainted, he asked someone to call grandpa and my mother and ask them to hide quickly. He said someone was going to my house to seek revenge. Su Chen's face changed. He asked hurriedly, where is Uncle Zhao? Let's go save him. Zhou Wanqiu realized that Su Chen was a medical expert. With him, her father might be saved. Okay, I'll go drive. At the entrance of a high-end hotel, countless people were watching. In the crowd, there was a middle-aged man lying on the ground covered in blood. It was Zhao Pingjiang who had just met with a client. Several employees of Zhao's catering group were anxiously calling for help. At this time, an old man in a tang suit came forward. I'm a doctor, let me treat this gentleman. The old man said. The employees of Zhao's group were instantly overjoyed and hurriedly thanked. Thank you, old man. Old man, please save our chairman. We just came out of the hotel, and an old man came over and punched our chairman. Chairman Zhao was directly knocked away. The employee wanted to explain the situation, but the old man in the tang suit waved his hand and interrupted. Okay, you don't have to say more. Let me see the injured first. At this moment, an ambulance siren sounded. Several doctors and nurses in white came down. The leading doctor was none other than Liu Wenshou. We are medical staff from Bincheng Central Hospital. Where is the injured? Liu Wenshou said. Zhao's employees were overjoyed and called out, here, our chairman is here. Then, Liu Wenshou led the caregivers and nurses to the middle of the crowd. When he squeezed in and saw an old man in a tang suit treating Zhao Pingjiang, his face darkened. "Hey, old man. What are you doing? Don't touch the patient." Liu Wenshou scolded loudly. The old man in the tang suit turned his head to look at Liu Wenshou and snorted, "Are you a doctor? Can't you see that I'm examining the patient?" Liu Wenshou was even more embarrassed after being choked. He said angrily, "Am I a doctor? My father is the director of Bincheng Central Hospital. Do you think I'm a doctor? I advise you to get out of the way quickly. Otherwise, if anything happens to the injured, you can't be held responsible." Humph. The old man in tang suit snorted coldly. "So, you are Liu Xiaohua's son. Even if your father is in front of me, he wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Call your father and ask him if he knows Bian Sanson." Bian Sanson. Hearing this name, Liu Wenshou's face changed slightly. At this time, a young nurse scolded in a cold voice, "What are Bian Sanson and Bian Sanson?" Our Dr. Liu is a foreign doctor who studied abroad at a famous medical university. However, before Bian Sanson could speak, Liu Wenshou scolded the young nurse, "Shut up. Don't talk nonsense." After that, Liu Wenshou forced a smile at Bian Sanson and said, "Well, old man, you check first. I'll call my dad." Then, Liu Wenshou whispered to the nurses and caregivers, "Be polite. Let the old man check first." After that, he ran to the side and called his dad with a trembling heart. He had heard of the name Bian Sanson. He was one of the top 10 in the Saint Hand list. Seeing that Liu Wenshou would no longer disturb him, Bian Sanson lowered his head and continued to check Zhao Pingjiang. Not long after, he stood up with a frown. On the side, employees of Zhao Group came up quickly. "Old man, how is our chairman?" Bian Sanson said helplessly. "The injured was injured by a master of Zhou Wanqiu. The true key entered the internal organs and caused great damage. Now I'm afraid that even gods cannot cure it." Hearing this, all the employees looked as if they had lost their parents. At this time, it's just true key entering the internal organs. Why is it difficult for gods to cure it? A clear voice came. "Humph. Who are you? So shameless." Bian Sanson was furious. "It's me." The next moment, Su Chen and Zhou Wanqiu squeezed through the crowd and walked in. Chapter 104. The shock of Bian Sanson. Su Chen and Zhou Wanqiu squeezed into the crowd. Zhou Wanqiu's face changed drastically when she saw Zhao Pingjiang lying on the ground. "Dad!" Zhou Wanqiu cried out. Her tears burst out instantly, and she rushed to Zhao Pingjiang's side. Bian Sanson saw that Zhou Wanqiu was the daughter of the injured person, so he did not stop her. His eyes were fixed on Su Chen. Bian Sanson had confirmed that what Su Chen said just now was what he said. The injured person's internal organs have been seriously injured by the true key. The thief left because he was sure that the injured person could not be cured. "You are a young boy. You don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. How dare you speak so arrogantly?" Bian Sanson looked unhappy. He was a traditional doctor who treated patients with great care, and he hated the arrogance of the younger generation the most. Su Chen glanced at Bian Sanson and said lightly, "Just because you can't cure it doesn't mean I can't." Hearing this, Bian Sanson's nose was almost crooked with anger. He was a famous medical master in the country, and he was in the top 10 of the master list, but now he was looked down upon by a young boy. "Okay, you come and treat the injured. If you cure him, I will kneel down and worship you as my master." Bian Sanson was very angry. Su Chen ignored him and stepped forward. He was about to squat down to examine Zhao Pingjiang. At this time, a cold shout suddenly rang out. "Stop it. Where did you come from, you stinky boy? Why are you showing off when even the great Dr. Bian can't do anything about this case?" Liu Wenshou squeezed in from the outside of the crowd. He had just finished a phone call with his father and confirmed the identity of Bian Sanson. He knew that Bian Sanson was quite powerful and was trying to please him. At this time, he happened to hear someone provoking Bian Sanson, so he came out to scold him. Su Chen turned around and said coldly, "Dr. Liu, you don't recognize me after just a short time of separation? I remember that you seem to owe me a bet." When Liu Wenshou saw Su Chen, his face suddenly felt like a mouse seeing a cat. Before, He had made a bet with Su Chen at the Chunjiang Road store. As long as Su Chen could induce vomiting in the patient with food poisoning, he would eat the vomit. At that time, Su Chen was in a hurry to go to the hospital to see other diners with food poisoning, so he didn't let him fulfill his promise. Now when he saw Su Chen again, he suddenly felt inferior. Liu Wenshou was embarrassed and could only force an excuse that Dr. Bian is a famous doctor in the country. It's better to let him treat it. Humph. Bian Sanson snorted coldly. My medical skills are low, and I can't treat this kind of injury that seriously hurts the internal organs. I want to see what magical methods this little doctor can use. Bian Sanson's tone was full of sarcasm. After Liu Wenshou figured out what was going on, he stopped talking and looked at Su Chen with some excitement. He also wanted to see Su Chen embarrassed. Su Chen glanced at the two and said lightly, "Then you should study hard." After that, he no longer cared about the two people with black faces, but walked towards Zhao Pingjiang. At this time, Zhou Wanqiu cried with tears in her eyes, "Su Chen, please save my dad. Please. Don't worry, I'm here. Uncle Zhao will be fine." Su Chen promised. TSK. HMPH. Liu Wenshou and Bian Sanson both made disdainful sounds. However, Zhou Wanqiu looked at Su Chen's serious face and felt much more at ease. Su Chen went forward to check and confirmed that Zhao Pingjiang was hit in the internal organs by Master Zhu Wanqiu's true ki. For ordinary doctors, such injuries are difficult to deal with the true ki that has been destroyed in Zhao Pingjiang's internal organs. But for Su Chen, this is not a problem. 9 extremes life-changing needles. Su Chen shouted. Several silver needles flew out of his hand quickly and accurately pierced the major acupoints on Zhao Pingjiang's body. The next moment, Su Chen mobilized his true ki and urged the 9 silver needles. The next moment, the 9 silver needles trembled wildly and an inexplicable ki flowed slowly in the 9 silver needles. Vitality also spread from the 9 silver needles to Zhao Pingjiang's whole body. 9 extremes life-changing needles? On the side, Bian Sanson's face changed drastically. He was best at acupuncture. He knew something about the 9 extremes life-changing needles, this lost ancient acupuncture technique. Now, seeing this strange technique reappear in Su Chen's hands, he was so excited that he trembled all over. This is actually the real 9 extremes life-changing needles. Bian Sanson's face was no longer calm, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Su Chen was too lazy to pay attention to him. 18 hands of the Ghost Gate. Stop people in front of the King of Hell. Su Chen whispered and formed complex seals with his hands, quickly tapped Zhao Pingjiang's body, and then pushed at a very fast speed. Suddenly, Zhao Pingjiang spurted out a mouthful of blood. On the side, Zhou Wanqiu exclaimed, and then covered his mouth tightly, for fear of disturbing Su Chen. The next second, Zhao Pingjiang burst out with a burst of true energy, expelling all 9 silver needles. It's out. The ki in the injured person's body has been guided out. Bian Sanson exclaimed. The most difficult part of Zhao Pingjiang's injury was the ki in Shen Zhangyuan's body. But Su Chen used 2 lost medical techniques to solve it perfectly. 9 extremes life-transforming needle. 18 hands of Ghost Gate. No wonder Su Chen dared to say that he could treat it. Bian Sanson was convinced. Su Chen put away the silver needle, then took out a porcelain bottle from his body and fed Zhao Pingjiang a pill. I guided the ki in Uncle Zhao's body out, and his injury has stabilized. However, he needs to be sent to the hospital for rest. Su Chen said to Zhou Wanqiu. Zhou Wanqiu cried bitterly, and she said to Su Chen, "Su Chen, thank you. Thank you for saving my dad." Su Chen smiled and said nothing. At this time, Bian Sanson on the side hurriedly stepped forward. "This young man, did you just use the 9 extremes life-transforming needle and 18 hands of Ghost Gate?" Su Chen nodded. "Yes." The next second, bang, Bian Sanson knelt on the ground and said, "Master, please accept my disciple's worship." Su Chen was confused. What the hell? This grey-haired old man kowtowed and even worshipped himself as his master. On the side, Liu Wenshou was also stunned. He had just talked to his father, Liu Shaohua, the director of Bincheng Central Hospital. He knew that Bian Sanson in front of him was a nationally famous miracle doctor and was one of the top 10 on the saint hand list. But why did this miracle doctor look so unreliable? Master, I said this when I made a bet with you just now. If you can cure the injured, I will kowtow to you and worship you as my master. I'm a man of my words and I must fulfill my promises. You don't have to teach me too much. Just teach me the 9 extreme life-changing needle and the 18 hands of Ghost Gate just now. Bayan Sanson said attentively. Su Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Good guy. This old man is really shameless. The bet just now became an excuse for me to learn things secretly. Master, please accept me. Bayan Sanson said hurriedly. As he spoke, he said to Zhou Wanqiu, Master's wife, please persuade my master. Zhou Wanqiu was confused. Then, she blushed and said, I'm not your master's wife, don't beg me. Su Chen looked helpless. Get up quickly. You can't learn my medical skills. Don't worry, I will definitely learn it well. Bayan Sanson was shameless. Su Chen was speechless. Not long ago, this old man still looked like a hermit. But now, he looks a bit like a child throwing a tantrum. Get up first. I have to send uncles out of the hospital first. If you delay my important business, you will never learn anything from me in your life. Su Chen said. Okay. Bayan Sanson got up quickly. Su Chen said to Zhou Wanqiu, Mr. Zhou, please send uncles out of the hospital first. I have to go home quickly. I'm afraid that the thief will do something bad to Grandpa and Aunt Zhao. Zhou Wanqiu was suddenly panicked. Go quickly. Don't let Grandpa and my mother get hurt. Su Chen nodded and left at a high speed. Chapter 105 The Miracle Doctor is also a dog. Zhou Wanqiu watched Su Chen leave, feeling both grateful and a little worried. Although she knew that Su Chen's martial arts skills were very strong. However, the master sent by Zhao Changling after the Zhao family lost so many good players must not be easy to deal with. However, she could not help much and could only pray for Su Chen silently in her heart. Turning around, Zhou Wanqiu was about to send Zhao Pingjiang to the hospital. At this time, Bayan Sanson came over and said very attentively, well, Miss Zhao, let me do it. If you have any instructions, just tell me directly and I will do it. As he spoke, Bayan Sanson turned his head and shouted at Liu Wenshou on the side, what is that kid surnamed Liu doing? You have no eyesight at all. Can't you see that the patient needs to be sent to the hospital now? Is this what Liu Xiaohua taught you? It's really worse than the previous generation. Bayan Sanson became a grumpy old man again. Liu Wenshou was confused. Good guy. This old man can change his face. You try to please others, but let me do the hard labor. However, remembering his father Liu Xiaohua's instructions, Liu Wenshou quickly forced out a smile. Okay, Dr. Bayan, I'll do it. As he spoke, Liu Wenshou called a few nurses to help him put Zhao Pingjiang on a stretcher and then push him to the ambulance. After Zhao Pingjiang was settled, Liu Wenshou panted. He walked up to Bayan Sanson with a flattering smile on his face. Dr. Bayan, the patient has been arranged. What do you think we should do next? Bayan Sanson glared at him. What, Dr. Bayan? I just failed in front of Miss Zhao, and you deliberately called me like this. Are you mocking me? Liu Wenshou was speechless and a little embarrassed. Bayan Sanson continued. Besides, the patient has been arranged in the ambulance. What should we do next? Do you need to ask me as a doctor? He changed the subject and said, you have to ask Miss Zhao. Then, Bayan Sanson turned around and smiled at Zhou Wanqiu. That smile was like eating beef S's. Miss Zhao, what do you think we should do next? Let's go to the hospital quickly. Su Chen said that, although my father's condition has stabilized, he still needs to rest. Zhou Wanqiu said. Bayan Sanson immediately agreed. Yes, Miss Zhao is right. Let's go to the hospital quickly. Liu Wenshou was stunned. The miracle doctor in front of him, as his father called him, really surprised him. This old man licked Su Chen and Zhou Wanqiu a little too much. Immediately, the group boarded the ambulance and went to Bincheng Central Hospital. After arriving at the Central Hospital, Zhao Pingjiang was arranged to the best private ward. Everything was settled. Liu Wenshou's father, Liu Xiaohua, the dean of Bincheng Central Hospital, also rushed here, thinking of getting close to Bayan Sanson, the famous miracle doctor. However, Bian Sanson kept following Zhou Wanqiu and asking about her well-being, like a lackey. The dog-licking attitude made Liu Shaohua, who was well versed in human relations, dare not disturb him, for fear of causing Bian Sanson's disgust. Zhou Wanqiu was also very surprised by Bian Sanson's attitude. Isn't Su Chen's medical skills just some rural folk remedies? Why does this genius doctor whom Liu Wenshou respects so much want to learn so much? Is Su Chen really that good? Countless questions flashed through Zhou Wanqiu's mind. Divine Dr. Bian, thank you for your help. You go and do your work first. I want to be alone. Zhou Wanqiu thanked him. She had already seen that Liu Shaohua was beside her and had been trying to come forward to greet Bian Sanson. Hey. Okay, don't be too anxious. Your father is no longer in danger of life. Bian Sanson said. Zhou Wanqiu nodded and walked aside silently. Liu Shaohua was overjoyed when he saw this and quickly came forward to chat with Bian Sanson. At this time, Bian Sanson's face no longer had the attentive and flattering smile in front of Zhou Wanqiu, but was replaced with a calm and indifferent look of master. Liu Wenshou on the side secretly curled his lips, feeling sour in his heart. This old man is a miracle doctor, so shameless. He puts on airs in front of us and acts like a dog in front of Su Chen. Bian Sanson talked to Liu Shaohua for a while and suddenly his cell phone rang. He apologized to Liu Shaohua and walked to the corner to answer the phone. A respectful voice came from the other side of the receiver. Miraculous Dr. Bian, this is Wang Xingzhu. Have you arrived in Bincheng? That's right. The person who called Bian Sanson was not someone else, but the head of the Wang family, Wang Xingzhu, King Yao's grandfather. Miraculous Dr. Bian, where are you now? Do you want me to send a car to pick you up? My granddaughter Yuting's illness depends on you. Wang Xingzhu's tone was full of flattery. However, Bian Sanson said lightly, Master Wang, I have indeed arrived in Bincheng. However, I have a very important thing to do now, so your granddaughter's illness will wait a little longer. Hearing this, Wang Xingzhu's face suddenly changed. Wang Yuting's condition is now more serious, and she is in danger at any time. If it were another doctor, he might come directly to arrest her. But Bian Sanson is in the top 10 of the Saint Hands list, and is a well-known miracle doctor in the country. He had to rely on many connections to get the opportunity to ask Bian Sanson to treat his granddaughter. Therefore, Wang Xingzhu did not dare to offend him and could only say good things. Miss Bian, my granddaughter's illness can't be delayed. If you don't come to treat her, she may not survive these 2 days. Wang Xingzhu's voice was filled with tears and pleading. Bian Sanson's face showed a trace of hesitation and struggle. Originally, he came to Bincheng because of Wang Xingzhu's granddaughter Wang Yuting. It was just when he first arrived in Bincheng that he happened to encounter Zhao Pingjiang's accident. It was also because of this incident that he saw the two lost magical medical skills reappear in Su Chen's hands. He wanted to wait for Su Chen to come back, learn a few tricks from him, and then go to treat Wang Yuting. Unexpectedly, Wang Yuting's condition is now urgent. Although Bian Sanson looks a bit rogue in front of Su Chen, it's just that he is eager to learn. Now that human lives were at stake, he immediately made a decision. Okay, Mr. Wang, I'll go to your house right now. Wang Xingzhu was immediately grateful. Thank you, Dr. Bian. You are such a kind-hearted doctor. Okay, no need to say more. I'll leave now. Bian Sanson hung up the phone. He said goodbye to Zhou Wanqiu with great regret, said hello to Liu Shaohua and Liu Wenshou, and left the hospital in a hurry. On the other side, Wang's villa. Wang Xingzhu hung up the phone, and his son Wang Tao and daughter-in-law Li Yulan quickly surrounded him. Dad, what did Dr. Bian say? Wang Tao asked eagerly. Wang Xingzhu said, don't worry, Divine Dr. Bian has arrived in Bincheng, and is now on his way to our Wang family. With him here, Yuting will be fine. On the side, daughter-in-law Li Yulan breathed a sigh of relief. That's great. God bless you. Wang Xingzhu said. From the tone of Divine Dr. Bian just now, he seemed to have something urgent to do. It was only when he heard that Yuting was in danger that he put down his work and rushed over. So, you must respect Divine Dr. Bian. Wang Tao and Li Yulan nodded repeatedly. Of course. Wang Tao said. Li Yulan was grateful. Mr. Bian is a real miracle doctor. For the sake of the patient, he can put his personal affairs aside. Think about Su Chen, who was brought by Qin Yao. He beat Bo for an outsider like Sun Zongjing and threatened to make us two elders apologize to the people, otherwise he would not treat Yuting. Humph. When Dr. Ban cures Yuting, I will definitely take her to Qin Yao and Su Chen to make them angry, Li Yulan said angrily. On the side, Wang Tao and Wang Xingzu saw Li Yulan like this, and they didn't say anything. They were also angry with Su Chen in their hearts. Su Chen didn't know that he was being talked about by everyone in the Wang family. At this time, he was standing outside the Zhao family villa, looking at the villa with a sharp gaze. Su Chen could clearly feel that there was a terrifying aura of mysterious energy inside. Chapter 106. Are you worthy? Su Chen took a step and walked into the Zhao family villa. Whoosh! A violent sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. Su Chen's pupils suddenly shrank, and a huge rock hit him. Su Chen did not dodge, but raised his hand and punched. Boom. A loud noise. The huge rock instantly broke into pieces and splashed everywhere. Dust fell. Su Chen saw that there was a short old man standing proudly in the courtyard. It was Shen Zongyuan, who Zhao Changling had spent 100 million to invite out of retirement. You are Su Chen, right? You are indeed a martial arts genius. You have already cultivated Zhuanjin at such a young age. The old man looked at Su Chen with admiration and surprise. Boy, I like you. If you worship me as your master, I can help you make peace with Zhao Changling. Shen Zongyuan put on a master's attitude. However, Su Chen said lightly, want to be my master? Unfortunately, you are not worthy. Shen Zongyuan was stunned and felt humiliated. Boy, I asked you to worship me as my master, to give you a chance, but you dare to be so arrogant and humiliate me. Su Chen smiled coldly, you are old, but you are only in the Zhuan realm. What is there to be proud of? Shen Zongyuan felt as if he was poked in a sore spot. His Zhuanjin master's cultivation was respected everywhere outside, so how could he have suffered such humiliation? Boy, there are countless martial arts geniuses from ancient times to the present, but most of them died halfway. I love talent so much that I want to give you a way out, but you just want to die. Shen Zongyuan's face was full of anger, and he shouted, then go to hell. The next second, he flashed and rushed directly to Su Chen. Shen Zongyuan's hands were claws, like sharp blades, and he grabbed Su Chen fiercely. It seemed that in the next second, he could tear him into pieces like tearing paper. Su Chen did not move at all. This scene fell into Shen Zongyuan's eyes, and he thought Su Chen was scared silly. Shen Zongyuan had a sly smile on his face. He couldn't wait to see Su Chen's miserable appearance. At this moment, Su Chen attacked brazenly. His movements were not complicated, just a punch. However, facing Su Chen's simple punch, Shen Zongyuan felt a palpitation inexplicably. He had a hunch that, if he let Su Chen's punch hit him, he would not be able to bear it. In a panic, Shen Zongyuan no longer cared about tearing Su Chen apart, but chose to change his tactics temporarily and punch Su Chen. Bang! A loud sound like thunder exploded. The next second, a figure flew backwards. Thump thump thump. Shen Zongyuan's footsteps quickly retreated on the ground. After retreating 7 or 8 steps in succession, he managed to stabilize his body. Shen Zongyuan was horrified. Just now, he and Su Chen fought, and in the end he was beaten back. Although this was related to his temporary change of tactics, it also proved that Su Chen's strength was by no means trivial. Shen Zongyuan's expression was cautious. At this moment, he had already begun to regard Su Chen as an opponent of the same level as himself. Su Chen, I'll say it again, if you worship me as your master, I can help you completely deal with Zhao Changling. If Zhao Changling does not agree to reconcile, it is not impossible for me to help you kill Zhao Changling. Shen Zongyuan proposed again. Su Chen's martial arts talent really moved him. He was even willing to offend Zhao Changling for him. However, Su Chen still had a cold expression. I said, you don't deserve it. Besides, since you attacked Zhao Pingjiang, your ending is only death. Hearing this, Shen Zongyuan was furious. You ungrateful bastard, then go to hell. Shen Zongyuan said, turned his hands up, and posed a strange posture. He closed his lips tightly, and took a deep breath through his nose. In an instant, the wind blew around. Countless air gathered towards the place where Shen Zhongyuan was. Shen Zhongyuan's body, like a blown balloon, expanded rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into a giant over 2 meters tall. Go to hell. Shen Zhongyuan roared. His voice shook the earth. Along with this roar, a white arrow of air shot out from his mouth. The sound was like a flood bursting through a dam, and the momentum was like thunder and lightning. Seeing the air arrow coming towards him, Su Chen looked indifferent. Is this your trump card? After Su Chen finished speaking, he raised his fist again. 100-step divine fist, void shaking bell. Su Chen shouted, and then punched out. In an instant, countless air currents surged on his fist. Su Chen's punch seemed slow, but it was actually very fast. In the air, there was a faint sound of sonic boom. A few meters away, Su Chen's fist pointed directly at Shen Zhongyuan. The mysterious energy in Su Chen's body surged out, shaking the void, and causing a terrifying gust of wind. A terrifying fist shadow, carrying the power of the gust of wind, covered Shen Zhongyuan's air arrow. Shen Zhongyuan felt the terrifying momentum of Su Chen's punch, and was immediately anxious. His forehead was exposed with veins, and he suddenly urged all his Zhu engine to flow into the key arrow. However, no matter how he urged, the key arrow could not go any further. On the contrary, Su Chen's fist was unstoppable. Bang! A burst of sound was heard. Blood splattered everywhere. Ah! Shen Zhongyuan screamed and rolled on the ground, covering his face. Su Chen's punch directly exploded his cheeks. Shen Zhongyuan struggled to get up from the ground, covering his face with both hands, his eyes full of fear. He didn't expect that Su Chen's cultivation was not only at the beginning of Zhu engine, but also higher than his. Even if he used the most powerful skills, Su Chen broke it completely. Before, Su Chen said he wanted to kill him, and he thought it was arrogant, but now he was really scared to the extreme. Shen Zhongyuan didn't dare to say anything more, but turned around and ran. However, Su Chen raised his hand again and punched again. The terrifying Zhu engine, like a river bursting its banks, carried the momentum of breaking mountains and rivers, and killed Shen Zhongyuan. Bang! After a loud noise, Shen Zhongyuan's body exploded instantly. The body fell to the ground. Even though he was dead, there was still a trace of disbelief in Shen Zhongyuan's eyes. It seemed that he couldn't believe, until his death, that he died in the hands of an unknown young junior. So far, Shen Zhongyuan, the Zhu engine master that Zhao Changling relied on the most, died. All the martial arts power under Zhao Changling had been defeated by Su Chen. But Su Chen didn't have this awareness. He just glanced at Shen Zhongyuan's body lightly, without any excitement of killing the Zhu engine master. He took out his mobile phone and contacted Zhou Wanqiu. After Zhou Wanqiu received the news from Zhao Pingjiang, he had already taken Zhao Girang away in advance. At this moment, Zhou Wanqiu heard that Su Chen had killed Shen Zhongyuan, and he was immediately happy and surprised. Grandpa Zhao, can you handle Shen Zhongyuan's body? If it's not convenient for you, I'll find someone to handle it. Su Chen said. Zhou Wanqiu was also a ruthless man who had made his fortune from scratch. He said, don't worry, I'll go back right away, and I'll handle the body. Su Chen nodded. He had originally thought that, if Zhou Wanqiu couldn't handle it, he would go to Qinwenti and all Xiaolei. Now that Zhou Wanqiu could handle it, it would be easier for him. Okay, Grandpa Zhao, I'll leave this to you. I'll go to the Zhao family again. Su Chen said lightly. Zhou Wanqiu was shocked on the other side of the phone. He had already guessed what Su Chen was going to do. Su Chen, be careful. If things can't be done, come back quickly. At worst, we can move to another city together. You must not get into trouble. Zhou Wanqiu said earnestly. Su Chen hung up the phone after repeatedly assuring Zhou Wanqiu that nothing would happen. Chapter 107. Death penalty is avoidable, but punishment in life is not. At night, in the Zhao family villa, in a luxurious study, Zhao Changling sat at the desk, with the ashtray in front of him filled with cigarette butts. He looked out the window with a gloomy face. A dark cloud came over, blocking the moonlight. In the afternoon, when Shen Zhongyuan left, he said that he would be back before dark. Now it was night, but Shen Zhongyuan was silent. Zhao Changling also called Shen Zhongyuan, but the call didn't go through. What made him even more nervous was that there was no news of any accident to the Zhou family in the news. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. A hint of joy appeared on Zhou Changling's face. His study was a forbidden area, and ordinary people didn't dare to disturb him, unless there was something extremely urgent. But Shen Zhongyuan was not restricted by this rule. Mr. Shen, you are finally back. Zhou Changling choked before he finished speaking. Because the person who pushed the door in was not Shen Zhongyuan. It was Su Chen. Zhou Changling's face changed drastically. Are you Su Chen? Zhou Changling had seen Su Chen's profile and knew what he looked like. Su Chen walked into Zhou Changling's study and looked around, looking natural, like a guest. He ignored Zhou Changling at all, but pulled a chair and sat opposite Zhou Changling's desk. Zhou Changling's face was gloomy, and he whispered, Su Chen, what do you want to do? Where is Mr. Shen Zhongyuan? Su Chen glanced at Zhou Changling and said lightly, he has gone to where he should go. It's your turn next. Zhou Changling's face flashed with fear, and then he returned to normal. He naturally understood what Su Chen meant. However, Zhou Changling couldn't believe that Su Chen, a young man in his early 20s, could actually kill Shen Zhongyuan. However, Shen Zhongyuan, who has not been contacted so far, and the Zhou family, who are still safe and sound, all prove that Su Chen's words are probably true. Su Chen, let's make peace and write off the past. Zhou Changling said with a forced smile. Su Chen asked back, you said it's all written off, so it's all written off? Zhou Changling's expression froze, and there was a hint of anger in his tone. The 4 great dark power masters of my Zhou family, swords, fists, and feet, were all killed by you. My son Zhou Shiji died because of you. Now, my Zhou family's worshipper, Master Shen Zhongyuan, also died in your hands. What else do you want? Pa. 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 Su Chen clapped his hands with a sneer on his face. According to what Mr. Zhou meant, it's still my fault. Your Zhou family sent people to harm my and the Zhou family. We can only bear it silently, and we can't resist at all, right? Zhou Changling was speechless. The conflict between the Zhou family and the Zhou family was indeed initiated by the Zhou family, and they were not in the right at all. Zhou Changling's face was ugly, and his mind was spinning rapidly, trying to excuse himself. Su Chen, you killed Iron Fist Feng Dao. His master is the invincible Yang Wudi, who is rarely matched in the martial arts world of the province. If you agree to reconcile with me, I will be a peacemaker when Yang Wudi seeks revenge on you in the future. If you kill me, you will be doomed when Yang Wudi comes looking for you in the future. Zhou Changling said hurriedly. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Chen directly raised his hand and punched. Boom. With a loud bang, Zhou Changling was directly hit against the wall by Su Chen's fist shadow. Puff. Zhou Changling spurted out a mouthful of blood, as if he couldn't believe that Su Chen actually attacked him. Your attitude now doesn't seem like begging for mercy, Su Chen said lightly. A trace of anger flashed in Zhou Changling's eyes, but he didn't dare to say anything else. Su Chen ignored him, but got up and called Li Xiaolei. The call was connected. Li Xiaolei was a little surprised. Su Chen, why did you call me suddenly? What's the matter? Su Chen said directly, I'm in Zhou Changling's study now, and I can kill him at any time. I just want to ask if it's okay. Zhou Changling's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. He didn't know who Su Chen was calling, but he could only pray silently that the other party would not give random advice. On the other side, Li Xiaolei was stunned. He didn't expect that Su Chen would be so fierce and kill directly to the Zhou family. Li Xiaolei took a deep breath and said slowly, out of my own selfishness, I definitely hope you kill him. But I suggest you don't do this for the time being. Zhou Changling has a brother named Zhou Changshan, who is a master in the martial arts world of the provincial capital. If you kill Zhou Changling, Zhou Changshan may go crazy against the Zhou family. If you must kill Zhou Changling, try to kill Zhou Changshan first, and then do it. Su Chen nodded. If you don't cut the grass at the root, it will grow again in the spring breeze. What's more, Zhou Changshan is still a martial arts person. If he hides in the dark and attacks the Zhou family, it will be difficult for Su Chen to guarantee that no one in the Zhou family will be hurt. Okay. Thank you for your advice. Su Chen thanked him and hung up the phone. Li's villa. Li Xiaolei held the hung up phone in his hand, a little absent-minded. Dad, what's wrong with you? Who is calling? Are you drunk? Li Chunren asked with a smile. Li Xiaolei glared at him. It's Su Chen. He is in Zhao Changling's study now, and can kill him at any time. Clang. Li Chunren was stunned, knocked over the teacup in his hand, and the hot tea poured on his hands, but he didn't notice it. Su Chen was so fierce. On the other side, Su Chen hung up the phone, and looked at Zhao Changling again. At this moment, Zhao Changling was panicking. He didn't know who Su Chen had called just now, and what that person said to Su Chen. Su Chen, don't kill me. I will never cause trouble to you, and the Zhao family in the future. Zhao Changling promised frantically. However, Su Chen still saw a trace of hatred and resentment in his eyes. How could such a tyrant-like character not bear grudges? If Zhao Changshan didn't exist, Su Chen would have killed Zhao Changling at will. It's just that now, it's a bit tricky. However, Su Chen didn't take it too seriously. At most, he would lure Zhao Changshan here, and kill him first, and then kill Zhao Changling. Zhao Changling was also a smart man. Seeing that Su Chen didn't seem to have the idea of killing him, he quickly spoke. Mr. Su, I'm willing to use money to redeem my life. I will give you 100 million. Let me go, okay? Su Chen was stunned. Before, he asked He Zenshan to send a letter to Zhao Changling, asking him to prepare 50 million in compensation. As a result, now Zhao Changling actually took the initiative to mention 100 million. Su Chen once again realized how rich the Zhao family is. Seeing that Su Chen remained silent and did not respond, Zhao Changling was very anxious. He quickly spoke again. 300 million. No, 500 million. I'm willing to take 500 million to buy my life. Su Chen looked at Zhao Changling deeply. He was indeed a bumpkin who had never seen the world. With just a moment of hesitation, Zhao Changling raised the price to 500 million. Okay, you transfer the 500 million funds to the Zhao family. Su Chen said calmly. Zhao Changling was overjoyed and hurriedly operated. Soon, the 500 million funds were transferred to the account of Zhao's catering group. Mr. Su Chen, I have transferred the money. Are you satisfied now? Zhao Changling smiled apologetically, but there was a trace of hatred and resentment in his eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Su Chen punched again. Bang! Zhao Changling flew backwards again. Su Chen stepped forward and stepped on Zhao Changling's legs. Crack, crack. Two bone-breaking sounds rang out. Ah, my legs. Ah. Zhao Changling screamed, holding his legs and rolling on the ground. At this moment, he could no longer hide his anger. Su Chen, you bastard, didn't you agree to take money to spare my life? Zhao Changling shouted like crazy. Su Chen's expression was indifferent. 500 million is just to buy your life. But you and your Zhao family's crimes, the death penalty can be exempted, but the living crime cannot be escaped. If you are dissatisfied, you can continue to send people to find me. Su Chen left a word and turned away. In the study, Zhao Changling lay on the ground and took out his mobile phone with trembling hands. Brother, come to Bincheng quickly. Our Zhao family is going to be finished. Zhao Changling cried. On the other side, Bian Sanson also rushed to the Wang family. Everyone in the Wang family welcomed him. Bian Sanson didn't say anything nonsense and directly asked to treat Wang Yuting. After a while, Bian Sanson frowned and left the ward. Wang Yuting's illness was too tricky. Just now, he had used his famous skill 3 needles to rejuvenate Yang, but it was useless. In fact, it made the condition worse. Miss Wang's condition is too serious. My medical skills are limited. I'm really powerless. I'm sorry to disappoint you all. Bian Sanson was very sorry. Everyone in the Wang family was panicked. Chapter 108 Looking for Su Chen. In the Liu family villa, Bian Sanson looked grim. Just now, when he was treating Wang Yuting, it had no effect at all, and it made her condition worse. Beside him, everyone in the Wang family was silent. Drive Bian, is my daughter's disease really incurable? Li Yuan's eyes were filled with tears. Alas. Bian Sanson sighed. Ling Yuan's disease is very strange. I have never encountered such a virus in my many years of medical practice. On the one hand, it devours the patient's vitality, and on the other hand, it is eliminated by the patient's immune system. The two sides are like a tug-of-war. Obviously, Ling Yuan can't hold on now. Fortunately, Ling Yuan has been practicing martial arts since she was a child, and her physical fitness is much stronger than that of ordinary people. Otherwise, she would have been infected and died long ago. Wang Xingzhu frowned. Can't we find a way to enhance Yuting's vitality or directly eliminate the virus in her body? Bian Sanson shook his head. This is the strange thing about the virus in her body. It cannot be eliminated by external forces at all. The patient can only resist it by herself. You should have also gone to the hospital to check. This is not any virus we are familiar with now. So, it is impossible to kill the virus directly by prescribing the right medicine. Even if we really find out what type of virus this is, I'm afraid the patient will not survive until then. Wang Xingzhu, Li Yuan and others looked pale. They tried every possible means to find Bian Sanson through various connections, but there was still no way, which made them very desperate. Wang Xingzhu said, Bian Shen doctor, I remember that your famous skill Hui Yang Sanson is the supreme medical skill to stimulate the vitality of the patient. On the side, Wan Tao and Li Yulan's eyes lit up. However, Bian Sanson shook his head. I have tried it. I originally wanted to use Hui Yang Sanson to stimulate the vitality of the patient, but the effect was not good. Not only did it not make the patient completely healed, but it stimulated the patient's condition. After this, everyone in the Wang family was completely desperate. Bian Sanson even used his famous skills. It seems that there is really no way. Woo woo woo. Wang Yuting's mother Li Yulan cried, my daughter Yuting is only in her early 20s, and she is going to die like this. God, please take me away, and leave my daughter behind. Woo woo woo. Li Yulan cried bitterly. On the side, Wang Xingzhu and Wang Tao's eyes also turned red. Wang Tao said, Dr. Bian, do you have any other magical medical skills that can stimulate the vitality of my daughter's body? Hearing Wang Tao's question, Bian Sanson's eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, it seems that there is. Everyone in the Wang family immediately looked at Bian Sanson. Bian Sanson said quickly, my Huang Sanson does have the effect of stimulating the vitality of the patient, but compared to the other set of acupuncture methods, Huang Sanson is completely inferior. What acupuncture method? Li Yuan asked quickly. Bian Sanson slowly said, 9 extremes Zuanming needle. 9 extremes Zuanming needle? Everyone in the Wang family was confused. They didn't know what this acupuncture method was. Wang Xingzhu said, Dr. Bian, which doctor knows the 9 extreme life-changing needle? Is he near our Bincheng? Can he make it here in time? If the doctor who knows this set of acupuncture is thousands of miles away, it will be useless. But Bian Sanson smiled and said, what a coincidence, the doctor who knows this set of acupuncture is in Bincheng. Hearing this, everyone in the Wang family was overjoyed. I didn't expect that there is such a doctor in our Bincheng. Wang Xingzhu showed a trace of excitement on his face. Dr. Bian, which doctor are you talking about? Can you help us invite him? Our Wang family is willing to pay any price. Yes, yes, yes. Wang Tao and Li Yulan nodded repeatedly. Bian Sanson said, I'm not particularly familiar with this miracle doctor, but I feel that with me here, if you go and plead with him, he will definitely be willing to help. Okay, okay. Wang Xingzhu agreed repeatedly, and then asked, what's the name of the miracle doctor you mentioned? Bian Sanson smiled and said, I'll tell you, don't judge people by appearance. His name is Su Chen, a young man in his early 20s. Hearing this name, the Wang family members were stunned. Su Chen? A young man in his 20s? Could it be the Su Chen that Kanyao brought? Li Yulan was panicking, and she asked with a sad face, Dad, it can't be such a coincidence, right? Wang Xingzhu quickly found the surveillance screenshots at home, and asked Bian Sanson, Miss Bian, is this the Su Chen you are talking about? Bian Sanson nodded and said, yes, it's him. Has Su Chen been to your house? Bian Sanson was a little curious. If the patient has received the 9 extreme life-changing needle treatment, her disease should be cured. Why is it still like this now? For a moment, everyone in the Wang family looked at each other. Bian Sanson also noticed that something was wrong. His face turned cold and he asked, what happened? Alas. Wang Xingzu sighed and told the whole story. How can you be so excessive? Bian Sansin was very angry. He was a miracle doctor on the saint hand list. The Wang family had gone through a lot of trouble to invite him, so the Wang family was very respectful to him. Bian Sansin did not expect that this family would be so rude to Sun Zongjing and Su Chen. Haha, you Wang family are really great. I haven't cured Miss Wang's illness yet. Are you going to drive me out too? Bian Sansin sneered. Li Yulin and others looked embarrassed. Humph. Bian Sansin snorted coldly. Originally, I wanted to accompany you to invite Su Chen. Now it seems that you are completely asking for trouble. The faces of the Wang family changed drastically. Wang Xingzu quickly pleaded, Divine Dr. Bian is the one who is blind to us Wang family. Please help us say a word. Snap. Snap. On the side, Li Yulin quickly reached out and slapped herself twice in the face. Drive Bian, it's all my fault. I have long hair and short knowledge. My daughter Yuting is only in her early 20s. I can't watch her die in vain. Please, help us say a few good words to Su Chen. If he doesn't want to calm down, I'm willing to die to atone for my sins. Li Yulin cried with tears all over her face, and she was about to kneel down. Bian Sansin's face was also full of resentment. He scolded, if you had known this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Actually, I'm not familiar with Su Chen either. But from what you said just now, you have a niece who has a good relationship with Su Chen. I suggest that you contact her and let her speak for you. You should apologize to Sun Zongjing first, and then ask Su Chen. Maybe it will succeed. Hearing Bian Sansin's suggestion, Li Yulin, Wang Xingzu and others nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. That Su Chen said that we must apologize to Sun Zongjing first. Li Yulin said, while wiping her tears. Wang Xingzu thought about it and said, time is urgent now. I will be responsible for finding Yao, and then I will personally go to Sun Zongjing to apologize. You too, follow Dr. Bian, and go directly to Su Chen to try to gain his forgiveness. Okay. Wan Tao and Li Yulin nodded repeatedly. Bincheng Central Hospital. In a luxurious ward. Zhao Pingjiang slowly woke up. Dad, you're awake. Zhou Wanqiu rushed forward excitedly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Zhou Wanqiu apologizes. Zhao Pingjiang was confused. Wanqiu, where am I? Zhao Pingjiang asked in confusion. I remember that there seemed to be an old man who punched me. Zhou Wanqiu's eyes were red. Dad, we are in Bincheng Central Hospital. The old man is a martial arts master, and he should be sent by Zhao Changling. Fortunately Su Chen arrived in time and saved you. Zhao Pingjiang was stunned. Su Chen? He saved me again. Zhao Pingjiang's face changed slightly. He has always been reluctant to accept Su Chen. At this time, hearing that Su Chen saved his life again, he felt a little complicated. Zhou Wanqiu nodded. Dad, not only that. This morning, our Zhao's fast food chain Chunjiang Road store had food poisoning, and those poisoned diners were also induced to vomit by Su Chen. In the end, it was also Su Chen who caught the poisoner Huang Rongxiang in Ruai restaurant. These things happened quite suddenly, and Zhou Wanqiu didn't have time to tell Zhao Pingjiang. At this time, he happened to ask, and Zhou Wanqiu told him everything that happened today. Hearing this, Zhao Pingjiang was stunned for a moment. Su Chen actually made such a great contribution? Dad, there's more. Zhou Wanqiu spoke again. Su Chen told me that he killed Zhao Shiji, and then he demanded 50 million from Zhao Changling to compensate those diners who were poisoned by food. Zhou Wanqiu's words made Zhao Pingjiang a little frightened. What? He killed Zhao Shiji? This is impossible? Zhao Pingjiang's voice trembled a little. The reputation of Zhao Changling, the richest man in Bincheng, is known to all women and children in Bincheng. Not to mention killing his son. Even if you get in the way of the Zhao family, you will be killed by the Zhao family directly. Zhao Pingjiang didn't believe this anyway. Zhou Wanqiu said, Su Chen told me so. I don't quite believe it. The father and daughter looked at each other, and they were a little unsure. Su Chen, the wild boy from the countryside that they had always looked down on, seemed to be much more powerful than they imagined. He seemed to be very courageous. At this moment, the door of the ward suddenly opened. Su Chen's figure walked in from outside the door. Su Chen, you're back. Zhou Wanqiu's tone was full of surprise. Su Chen was also a little surprised. He nodded to Zhou Wanqiu, then greeted Zhao Pingjiang. Uncle Zhao, are you awake? How do you feel? Zhao Pingjiang said, except for being a little weak, I don't think there's any problem. As he spoke, Zhao Pingjiang asked nervously, Su Chen, I heard from Wanqiu that you killed Zhao Shiji, and you asked Zhao Changling for compensation of 50 million. On the side, Zhao Wanqiu also stared at Su Chen. Su Chen shook his head. Seeing this scene, Zhao Pingjiang and Zhao Wanqiu were relieved. Zhao Wanqiu even rolled her eyes secretly. She thought Su Chen was bragging, and now he finally admitted it. However, Su Chen continued to speak. I did kill Zhao Shiji, but the amount I'm claiming is not 50 million, but 500 million. Zhao Wanqiu and Zhao Pingjiang were completely stunned. It turned out that Su Chen's shaking his head just now was not to deny this matter, but the amount of the claim was wrong. 500 million. Zhao Pingjiang swallowed his saliva, his voice trembling. Su Chen, you are not kidding, are you? Zhao Wanqiu's eyes also carried a trace of dissatisfaction. She felt that Su Chen started to talk nonsense again. Just made some achievements, now he is bragging. Ding-ling-ling. At this moment, Zhao Wanqiu's mobile phone rang suddenly. Zhao Wanqiu answered. The voice of the financial director came from the other side. Mr. Zhao, the company just received a huge sum of money, a full 500 million, from the Zhao family, the richest man in Bincheng. Have you discussed any cooperation with the Zhao family? For a moment, the whole ward was quiet. Zhao Wanqiu dealt with the financial director for a few words, and hung up the phone. The father and daughter stared at Su Chen. Su Chen, what did you do? Zhao Pingjiang asked in a trembling voice. He knew that Su Chen must have done something extraordinary. Su Chen did not hide it, and told about his killing of Zhao Shiji, Zhao Changling sending Shen Zhongyuan to kill people, and his killing of the Zhao family. Zhao Wanqiu and Zhao Pingjiang finally understood everything. You broke Zhao Changling's legs, how could he let it go? Zhao Wanqiu's face was not looking good. Su Chen said lightly, if Zhao Changling didn't have a brother Zhao Changshan, I might have killed him directly. Zhao Wanqiu was speechless. However, she still said, okay, you did this for the Zhao family, and our Zhao family took it. No matter what the Zhao family wants, our Zhao family will accompany him to the end. Anyway, it's not like we haven't done anything against the Zhao family before. Su Chen smiled. Zhao Wanqiu didn't know that the last time the Zhao family and the Zhao family blocked each other, it was he who found someone to help the Zhao family stand up. This time, Zhao Wanqiu didn't dislike him for causing trouble, but said that he would stand with him, which surprised him a little. That's how it should be. Zhao Pingjiang said seriously. The attitudes of the two people surprised Su Chen a little. After that, the ward fell into silence. Well, there's nothing to do here. I'll go home to see Grandpa Zhao. Su Chen felt that the atmosphere was awkward and found a reason to leave. Zhao Wanqiu followed him out soon. Su Chen. Zhao Wanqiu caught up with Su Chen. What's wrong? Su Chen asked. Zhao Wanqiu looked a little shy, as if she was a little embarrassed. Su Chen, I'm sorry. I didn't treat you very well some time ago. But today, you did so much for my family. Also, thank you. Zhao Wanqiu lowered her head slightly, her face flushed, and she looked even more charming. Facing Zhao Wanqiu like this, Su Chen didn't know what to say. Why don't you say anything? Zhao Wanqiu looked at Su Chen. Su Chen scratched his head and said a little awkwardly, I'm not used to you talking to me like this. I'm more used to your stinky face. Hearing this, Zhao Wanqiu's pretty face, which was originally a little shy, froze. She glared and kicked Su Chen fiercely. You are an irritating spirit. Humph. As she spoke, Zhao Wanqiu turned around and left angrily. Su Chen smiled bitterly. It's still Zhao Wanqiu like this, more familiar. At this time, Zhao Wanqiu, who had walked to the door of the ward, suddenly turned around. By the way, your old disciple had to leave in a hurry. Before he left, he said that he would definitely come back to see you as his master later. After saying that, Zhou Wanqiu walked into the wood without even looking at Su Chen. Su Chen was puzzled. Old disciple? Where did the old disciple come from? Could it be Bincheng? Su Chen suddenly thought of that old man. Speak of the devil, and the devil will appear. Master, you are here. A surprised voice sounded. Then, an old man with white hair and a youthful face trotted over. It was Bincheng. Don't shout, I'm not your master. Su Chen looked at Bincheng with a flattering smile on his face and said seriously. Bincheng pursed his lips and said, Master, this is the bet I made with you. Since I lost, I must admit it. Looking at the shameless Bincheng, Su Chen said coldly, I know what you are thinking. You just saw me use the 9 extreme life-changing needle, so you want to learn it from me. I'm telling you the truth, to make you give up. You are not a martial arts practitioner, so you can't learn this set of acupuncture techniques at all. Bincheng was stunned for a moment. He murmured, no wonder this acupuncture technique has been lost. It turns out there is such a restriction. However, he smiled and said, it doesn't matter if I can't learn this acupuncture technique. As long as I can learn something else from master, I will be satisfied. Bincheng is very smart. He knows that, since Su Chen can use the 9 extreme life-changing needle and the 18 hands of Ghost Gate, he may also know other magical medical skills. Su Chen was speechless. Chapter 110. Let's change to a real marriage certificate. Anyway, I have already recognized you as my master, and you have to teach me a few tricks. Bincheng continued. Su Chen frowned slightly. I won't accept an apprentice. If such an old man accepted an apprentice, if his grandfather knew, he would probably beat him up. However, Bincheng smiled and said, it's okay, we just have to accept it in our hearts. The main thing is, that I can learn something from you. Looking at Bincheng with a shameless face, Su Chen was speechless. This guy is a famous miracle doctor, but he is so shameless. However, Su Chen changed his mind and seemed to have told Sun Zongjing that he would teach him some medical skills that did not require internal strength. Later, because he was busy, he forgot to find Sun Zongjing. It's the same if you drive 1 sheep or 2 sheep. Su Chen thought to himself, this Bincheng is quite virtuous, so why not teach him a few tricks together? Thinking of this, Su Chen said, forget about becoming his disciple. I can teach you some medical skills, but I have to wait until I have time. When the time comes, I will go to Huchen Pavilion to teach, and you can learn with Sun Zongjing. Okay. Hearing Su Chen's agreement, Bincheng smiled. However, he quickly said, I also know Sun Zongjing, and his medical skills are very good. However, if we learn together, I have to be considered the senior brother. After all, I'm on the saint hand list, and it would be too embarrassing to be his junior brother. Su Chen was too lazy to pay attention to him. By the way, master. Bincheng spoke again. Su Chen frowned and said, don't call me master, just call me Su Chen or Mr. Su. Seeing that Su Chen insisted, Bincheng had to change his words. Mr. Su, I have something else to trouble you. But, you must promise me that you won't be angry. I'm also entrusted by someone. What is it? Su Chen asked. Bincheng looked aside. In the corner, a white-haired old man came over. He was not tall, his hair and beard were short, but his eyes were bright. It was Wang Xingzu, the head of the Wang family. Su Chen was a little curious. He felt that the old man looked familiar, but he had never seen him before. Old man, you are? Su Chen asked politely. Wang Xingzu looked a little embarrassed, and he bowed deeply to Su Chen first. Su Chen quickly dodged. Old man, what do you mean by this? Su Chen looked puzzled. Wang Xingzu slowly said, Su Chen, I'm Wang Xingzu, King Yao Iao's grandfather, and the head of the Wang family. In an instant, Su Chen looked at Bincheng next to him, and he had figured everything out. It turned out that the doctor that the Wang family had hired to treat King Yao Iao's cousin was Bincheng. Now the treatment must have failed, and they have to ask for help from him again. Haha. Su Chen thought of everything that happened in the Wang family before, and sneered. What? Did the head of the Wang family and your son and daughter-in-law also drive out the divine Dr. Ban? Wang Xingzu's face was flushed. Mr. Su, the old man knows that I was wrong, and my silly son and daughter-in-law also know that they were wrong. Please forgive me. Wang Xingzu bowed to the bottom again and did not stand up again. Su Chen's expression was cold. You don't have to beg me. Please go back. I'm not worthy of entering the gate of your Wang family. Wang Xingzu did not raise his body and begged, no matter how many mistakes I made, it was all because of my poor family education. Please forgive me, Mr. Su. On the side, Bian Sanson couldn't bear it and said, Master. Mr. Su, Miss Wang is only in her early 20s, and she died like this. It's such a pity. Please. Bian Sanson couldn't help but plead for the Wang family. Su Chen said coldly, if I had known this would happen, why did I do it in the first place? I said that I would not do anything unless your Wang family apologized to Mr. Sun. Please go back. Su Chen was about to leave. At this time, an urgent call rang out. Mr. Su, we have obtained the forgiveness of Dr. Sun. The next moment, 4 figures appeared in Su Chen's sight. The one running in the front was Li Yulan and Wang Tao. Following behind were Sun Zongjing and Qin Yao, who was dressed in a gorgeous dress. Qin Yao looked helpless when she saw Su Chen and stuck out her tongue. It seemed that she was also begged by her uncle and aunt to come here. Wang Tao and Li Yulan rushed to Su Chen and bowed to him together. Mr. Su, we apologize to you. We don't know etiquette, we are of low quality, and we look down on others. Please forgive us and save my daughter. Li Yulan said in a crying voice. In order to obtain Su Chen's forgiveness, she did not hesitate to humiliate herself. Wang Tao also spoke up. Mr. Su, we have apologized to Dr. Sun. Please forgive us. The two were sincere. Su Chen looked at Sun Zongjing. Sun Zongjing said quickly, Su Chen, I accept their apology. In fact, it's not a big deal. It's understandable that the patient's family is anxious. It's more important to save people. After he said this, Wang Xingzu, Li Yulan and Wang Tao were excited and a little ashamed. They treated Sun Zongjing like this, but Sun Zongjing repaid them with kindness. Su Chen glanced at Qin Yao, who didn't say anything. But Su Chen could see that Qin Yao actually wanted Su Chen to treat Wang Yuting, but didn't want to force him. Su Chen nodded. Okay. Since Dr. Sun has accepted your apology, I agree to treat Miss Wang. Everyone in the Wang family was overjoyed. The matter was urgent, and Su Chen couldn't care about going home first, so he could only treat Wang Yuting first. Everyone left the ward building and got in the car to leave. Zhou Wanqiu stood by the window of the ward and saw this scene, very confused. What's wrong? Zhao Pingjiang noticed Zhou Wanqiu's unusual state. Zhou Wanqiu said, I saw Su Chen leave. Beside him, there are Bian Sanson, Sun Zongjing and the Wang family. Oh, and that crazy woman Qin Yao. Although Qin Shi and Hao group has cooperated with the Zhao family, Zhou Wanqiu can feel a natural hostility every time he meets Qin Yao. The two people's auras don't match. Zhao Pingjiang was slightly stunned. The Wang family is the family of Qin Yao's mother. Su Chen left with them, maybe to treat someone in the Wang family. Zhao Pingjiang guessed. He actually guessed the truth almost right. Zhou Wanqiu nodded and said, that should be the case. Zhao Pingjiang was silent for a moment, then said, I didn't expect that Su Chen could become a distinguished guest of the Bincheng family with his medical skills. It seems that we all underestimated Su Chen, and his martial arts skills are also extraordinary. In this way, he can really be regarded as a young talent. It was us father and daughter who misjudged him. Zhao Pingjiang sighed. Although Zhou Wanqiu didn't want to admit it, she didn't know how to refute it. At this time, Zhao Pingjiang glanced at Zhou Wanqiu and said, daughter, I think Su Chen is not bad. If you like him a little bit, you can replace the fake marriage certificate with a real one. What if there is another woman, such as Qin Yao, who sees Su Chen's potential and snatches him away? It will be too late for you to regret it. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Wanqiu's face turned red. She hurriedly defended herself. Dad, what are you talking about? I don't like Su Chen. He's just a bumpkin. Doesn't he know some rural folk remedies? Doesn't he know how to fight? Can he be considered a talent? When your daughter was in school, the ones who pursued me were all young masters from the provincial capital, but I didn't agree. Would I fall in love with such a bumpkin? Whoever wants to fight can fight. I don't care. Zhou Wanqiu looked anxious. Seeing her attitude, Zhao Pingjiang could only say, I can't help you make a decision on this matter. You think about it yourself. Also, be nicer to Su Chen in the future. Even if you don't like him, don't be too fierce. After all, he has helped our family several times. Got it? Zhou Wanqiu nodded and said, I don't know why. Every time I see him, I can't suppress my anger. I'll pay attention in the future. The father and daughter fell into silence. Zhou Wanqiu's eyes flickered, and no one knew what she was thinking. On the other side, Su Chen and others arrived at Wang's house again. This time, Su Chen finally saw the patient's true face. Wang Yuting is one of the 4 beauties in Bincheng, so her appearance is naturally first class. However, at this moment, she looked pale and haggard. A strange green color spread all over her upper body, from her chest to her neck. Among them, there were some terrifying black lines. Bincheng was standing aside and told Su Chen the results of his last observation. Su Chen nodded. Your judgment is correct. It is indeed necessary to use the 9 extreme life transforming needle. However, this is not enough. What else? Is it troublesome? Qin Yao interrupted and asked. Su Chen shook his head. It's not a big deal. Take off all her clothes first. Chapter 111. You can look at me. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Everyone in the Wang family looked unhappy. Li Yulan was even more anxious, as if she wanted to protect her daughter. Su Chen said calmly, the judgment of the divine Dr. Bin is very correct. To treat a patient, you need to stimulate the patient's vitality and make him eat the poison himself. However, the venom also needs to be eliminated. If the poison is only removed, but not immediately guided out, the toxin will combine with the patient's body, which will probably cause Miss Wang to suffer a great loss of vitality. Therefore, I need to take off her clothes and accurately perform acupuncture to find the meridians. Moreover, after the acupuncture, Miss Wang needs to take a medicinal bath to detoxify. Everyone suddenly realized. Bincheng nodded repeatedly. Yes. Yes. It should be like this. I neglected it. The faces of the Wang family members immediately showed embarrassment. Su Chen wrote a prescription and handed it to Wang Xingzu. Old Wang, I need these medicinal materials. Please see if you have them at home. If not, go outside to get the medicine back. Wang Xingzu hurried out to make arrangements. As for the others, they all left, and Su Chen only left Qin Yao to help him. Although he was said to be helping, it was actually to reassure Li Yulan, Wang Tao and other members of the Wang family. After all, although Su Chen was a miracle doctor, he was also a young man in his early 20s. Although Wang Yuting was seriously ill, she was one of the 4 beauties in Bincheng. The Wang family would naturally feel more at ease if Qin Yao was left behind. The room became quiet. At this time, Qin Yao came close to Su Chen. She bumped Su Chen's arm and whispered, hey, benefactor, you saw that my cousin was beautiful, so you wanted to take the opportunity to peek and take advantage of her. Su Chen rolled his eyes at Qin Yao and ignored her. However, Qin Yao leaned close to Su Chen's ear and said with a sweet breath, in fact, my cousin's figure is not as good as mine. If you want to see, you can look at mine. Ahem. Su Chen almost choked on his own saliva when Qin Yao said this. Sister, don't make trouble, okay? Su Chen said unhappily. Qin Yao smiled and said, how come you are such a genius doctor, so emotionally unstable? Looking at Qin Yao who was the first to complain, Su Chen was too lazy to take care of her. He cast his eyes on Wang Yuting again. Go and help me undress her, and then simply cover her up. Su Chen arranged. Qin Yao smiled and said, my benefactor, you can do it yourself. I won't tell my aunt and the others. After that, without waiting for Su Chen to speak again, she stepped forward and cleaned up everything for Wang Yuting. It teased Su Chen without being annoying. Qin Yao grasped the scale very well. Su Chen looked at Wang Yuting again and saw that most of her skin was exposed, with only some key parts covered. A large area of white skin was exposed. But on these white skin, there were large green lines. Among them, there were some terrifying black lines that spread out. Su Chen immediately performed the 9 extremes life transforming needle. Soon, the green color faded quickly, and the fair skin reappeared, adding a bit of attraction. Su Chen's attention was not affected, but he stared at the black lines. The green color faded, but these terrifying black lines were extremely terrifying and still strong. Under the 9 extremes life-transforming needle, Wang Yuting's vitality was stimulated and powerful, and she suppressed the green skin with all her strength, but it seemed that the power was not enough to deal with the black patterns. My benefactor, my cousin seems to be in pain. Qin Yao exclaimed. Su Chen looked at Wang Yuting, and sure enough, she looked painful and her face began to turn pale. The 9 extremes life-transforming needle helped Wang Yuting to strengthen her vitality, and Su Chen's Zhuangjian also helped, but the main force was still Wang Yuting's vitality. However, during this period of time, Wang Yuting's vitality had been almost consumed by the toxins, and it was no longer enough to fight against the terrifying black lines. Su Chen sighed, "Get me a knife." Qin Yao was stunned, and didn't ask why, and quickly found a fruit knife. Su Chen directly cut his wrist, and put it to Wang Yuting's mouth. "My benefactor, what are you doing?" Qin Yao was stunned. Su Chen said lightly, "Feeding blood. Your cousin's body is not full of vitality, I want to replenish her." Qin Yao looked puzzled. "You cut yours with a knife, don't you feel pain?" "It hurts, but it can't be helped. If you don't use my blood, do you want to use yours?" Su Chen said unhappily. Qin Yao was embarrassed. "How do you know that she is coming? However, although I don't need to cut my wrist to use my blood, will my cousin beat me when she knows it?" Su Chen was speechless. "Good guy. They are really sisters. You are going to feed your cousin directly to your aunt." Su Chen was shocked by Qin Yao, and his hand was crooked, and blood spilled from the corner of Wang Yuting's mouth. Su Chen felt very distressed when he saw this. Since he was a child, his grandfather has been nourishing him with various medicinal herbs, and bathing him with various rare treasures, which made him full of vitality and blood treasure. Now, the few drops he spilled are enough to exchange for top-grade medicinal herbs. "Say less and don't distract me," Su Chen said to Qin Yao unhappily. Qin Yao pursed her lips and dared not disturb him again. In just a few seconds, Su Chen quickly retracted his wrist. Miraculously, the blood on his wrist quickly coagulated, and the wound quickly disappeared. Su Chen looked at Wang Yuting again, and saw that the terrifying black lines quickly faded and disappeared. And Wang Yuting's face gradually became ruddy. In the end, although she didn't wake up, she had a radiant feeling. "My benefactor, your blood is too powerful. Can I drink some too?" Qin Yao stared at Su Chen's arm like a greedy kitten. Su Chen said with disdain, "Get away from me, okay?" Qin Yao pouted, her eyes turned around, but she didn't know what she was thinking. Su Chen was too lazy to pay attention to her, but devoted himself to dealing with the follow-up of the patient. Use silver needles to follow Wang Yuting's meridians and leave a detoxification port. Su Chen asked Qin Yao to cover Wang Yuting. "Open the door." Everyone gathered around, and was pleasantly surprised to hear Su Chen say that everything went well. The things for the medicinal bath were ready. Su Chen moved directly into the room, closed the door, and put Wang Yuting in the bathtub. Soon, the water in the bathtub turned dark green, and emitted a fishy smell. Su Chen gradually relaxed. "It's done." He put Wang Yuting, who had wrapped her key parts, back on the bed, and asked Qin Yao to deal with it. Su Chen pushed the door open and walked out. Everyone in the Wang family rushed over, and looked at Su Chen eagerly. Miss Wang is completely well, but she still needs to recuperate for a while. After Su Chen finished speaking, everyone in the Wang family was immediately grateful. Li Yulin and Wang Tao almost knelt down. Su Chen stopped them, and the two hurried inside to see their daughter. Not long after, cheers from everyone in the Wang family came from the room. On the side, Bian Sanson and Sun Zongjing looked at Su Chen with even more eagerness. Just when everyone in the Wang family was overjoyed, there was a person who was like a bereaved parent. It was none other than Yi Zenshan, who had secretly escaped from the Zhao family. After delivering the message to Zhao Changling, he bribed a servant of the Zhao family to inquire about the news of the Zhao family at any time. As a result, he learned that Zhao Changling had his legs broken and had to pay 500 million yuan in compensation, which frightened him to death. The burning pain from time to time in his body reminded him that he could be poisoned to death at any time. Su Chen, Zhou family, you force me to do this. Zhenshin gritted his teeth. He took out his mobile phone, hesitated for a long time, and dialed a mysterious phone number. Soon, the call was connected. Didn't I tell you not to contact me if there is nothing wrong? A cold voice came. Chapter 112 Attack. Zhenshin showed a hint of respect on his face. Even though they were on the phone, he was still docile. It was because the person on the other side was a big shot whom he absolutely could not afford to offend. Mr. Ong, I'm sorry, I don't want to bother you, but Zhenshin told him what happened recently. After reporting, Zhenshin closed his mouth and dared not breathe. You are really a waste. The voice of the young man on the other side contained endless anger. I asked you to deal with the Zhou family, thinking that you could help Zhou Wanqiu at a critical moment and get closer to them. But you turned out to be so useless. Not only did you fail to achieve your goal, but you also let that Su Chen show up in front of Zhou Wanqiu. Zhenshin didn't dare to defend himself and could only complain. Young Master Ong, I really tried my best. I just don't know why the Qin family and the Yao family in the provincial capital all chose to help the Zhou family. And that Su Chen, I don't know where he came from, but his martial arts cultivation seems to have reached the level of Zhou Wanqiu. My son and brother were both killed by him. And he poisoned me too. If you don't come to Bincheng again, I'm afraid I will die of the poison. Zhenshin's tears fell. There was some acting, but more of it was the true feelings. He had been so miserable during this period. Not only were his various careers not going well, but his family was almost dead. I know. Tomorrow, I will take people to Bincheng. On the other side of the receiver, the young man's voice contained endless chills. The call was hung up. Zhenshin breathed a sigh of relief. The young master Ong opposite him put too much pressure on him. This is the top young master in the province. Zhenshin had seen with his own eyes that the son of the richest man in another city offended young Master Ong and was beaten to death by him. As a result, young Master Ong was not hurt at all. The richest man even came to the provincial capital to apologize to young Master Ong and compensate him. Therefore, when young Master Ong found him and asked him to deal with the Zhou family, he was so active. Su Chen, Zhou Wanqiu, you wait for death. Zhenshin had a crazy smile on his face. At the same time, in the provincial capital, in a box of a high-end hotel, two middle-aged men sat opposite each other. One of them was tall and strong, and his appearance was somewhat similar to Zhou Changling, the richest man in Bincheng. This person was Zhou Changling's brother, Zhou Changshan. Opposite him was a thin old man, his senior brother Chendoru. The old man was thin, but his skeleton was quite large, especially his hands, which were not only much larger than those of ordinary people, but also faintly black, and had a metallic luster. It looked like he had put a lot of effort into his hands. Brother, my brother Zhou Changling is the richest man in Bincheng, and he has provided a lot for us brothers over the years. This time, his family is in trouble, so please don't hold back, Zhou Changshan said. Chendoru stroked his beard and chuckled. Brother, why are you so modest? In a small place like Bincheng, you can sweep it all by yourself. Zhou Changshan sneered, but did not deny it. My brother told me that Su Chen can kill Shen Zhongyuan who has a Zhou Wanqiu cultivation. He should not be underestimated. Chendoru said calmly, Shen Zhongyuan cultivates Hunyuan Yi Qi, and mainly cultivates Zhou Wanqiu condensed Qi, but he lacks the means to achieve success, and his attack power can only be regarded as inferior compared to normal Zhou Wanqiu. We, the Jindao sect, are good at attacking. Ordinary Zhou Wanqiu cultivators are no match for us at all. It will be safe for us brothers to go to Bincheng together. Zhou Changshan also nodded in agreement, of course. This time, we want to let the people of Bincheng know that our Jindao sect is invincible. It should be so. Chendoru nodded, and, this time, in addition to avenging your brother, I also have a personal vendetta. Zhou Changshan was quite curious. Private vengeance? I have a disciple named Wu Gang. Many years ago, he had a personal vendetta with the Li family of Bincheng. Some time ago, he went to Bincheng to seek revenge, but did not return. Most likely, he met with an accident. I have notified the Li family and will come to their door in person tomorrow. Zhou Changshan nodded. Okay. Tomorrow, we brothers will set off for Bincheng together. You go to the Li family first, and I will go back to the Zhou family first. If there is any accident, we can still take care of each other. There won't be any accidents, Chendoru said firmly. Zhou Changshan laughed. Ha ha ha. I think so too. At this time, Bincheng, the Li family villa was full of gloom. Li Xiaolei sat on the main seat, and his son Li Chunren and nephew Li Wanqiu sat at the bottom. The three of them looked worried, because today, they received a notice from Chendoru of Jindao Zhang that he would come to the Li family tomorrow. Moreover, they were asked to prepare reasons, explain the cause of Wu Gang's death clearly, and hand over the murderer. Everyone in the Li family was immediately panicked. They didn't expect that Wu Gang actually had a master who was a master of Zhuanjin. Dad, Wu Gang is already so powerful, and this Chendoru is his master. He must be even more powerful, Li Chunren said in a trembling voice. Li Xiaolei looked at Li Chunren coldly and said, then what do you mean? I want to say. Li Chunren hesitated for a moment and gritted his teeth and said, how about we tell Chendoru about Su Chen killing Wu Gang? In this way, Chendoru will go to Su Chen and won't bother us. Bang. Before Li Chunren finished speaking, he was slapped by Li Xiaolei. You bastard. Su Chen is the savior of our Li family. How can you say such nonsense? Li Xiaolei was so angry that his chest heaved violently. Li Chunren covered his swollen face and dared not speak. He also knew that his suggestion was shameless. However, he was afraid of death, and he didn't have a good impression of Su Chen. Li Xiaolei was very angry and scolded Li Chunren madly. At this time, Li Wanqiu stood up. He said softly, Uncle, don't blame my brother. This Chendoru is a famous Zhuanjin master in the provincial capital. If he comes to our house and our Li family still resists forcefully, I'm afraid there will be a disaster of extermination. My brother is also considering the whole family. On the side, Li Chunren nodded repeatedly, with an expression of that's what I think. Seeing his beloved nephew speak, Li Xiaolei's anger subsided a little. That can't be so shameless. I can't betray Su Chen and stab my benefactor in the back. Li Xiaolei sat back in the chair and said angrily. Li Wanqiu thought about it and said, Uncle, since you are unwilling to give out Su Chen, then our Li family can only find a way to resist Chendoru, the Zhuanjin master. Can you find another Zhuanjin master? Li Xiaolei was stunned. He wanted to ask Su Chen to come. At this time, Li Chunren said, Dad, I have a candidate. I think it can be done. Who? Li Xiaolei was a little curious. Li Chunren said, the head of the Wang family, Wang Xingzhu. He has long been promoted to Zhuanjin, and he can certainly resist Chendoru. Li Xiaolei was startled and asked, last time Wu Gang came to seek revenge, didn't you say that Wang Xingzhu was busy with important matters and had no time? Li Chunren immediately explained. Some time ago, Wang Xingzhu was indeed busy. His granddaughter Wang Yuting was seriously ill, and he ran around looking for famous doctors, and even invited the divine Dr. Ban Sansin from the Saint Hand list. I heard that his granddaughter's strange illness has been cured. So, he has time again. Wang Xingzhu has been Zhuanjin for many years. I think if we invite him, it will be more reliable than Su Chen. Li Chunren's eyes were eager, and he really hoped that his father would invite Wang Xingzhu. After all, he had been beaten by his father several times because of Su Chen, and he really didn't like Su Chen. On the side, Li Wanqiu also nodded and said, Uncle, you don't want to tell Chendoru the truth because you want to protect Su Chen. If you call Su Chen again, if he can't beat Chendoru, I'm afraid he will still be harmed. Li Xiaolei thought for a long time and finally nodded. Then invite Wang Xingzhu to come and help. Chapter 113. People from the provincial capital. Originally, Li Xiaolei wanted to invite Su Chen to come. He had an inexplicable trust in Su Chen, and he believed in his own vision. After so many years of ups and downs in the business world, he started from scratch and became the richest man in Bincheng. What he relied on was his own vision. But this time, he didn't dare to gamble. The person who came to the Li family to provoke this time was the long-established master of Zhuanjin. If Su Chen lost, he would really harm Su Chen. After thinking about it, it would be safer to invite Wang Xingzhu to come. On the side, Li Chunren was very happy. If Wang Xingzu could resist Chendoru this time and calm down this disaster, it is estimated that Su Chen's status in his father's eyes would decline. In this way, his future life would be better. These days, he has been beaten several times because of Su Chen. On the other side, after Su Chen treated Wang Yuting, everyone in the Wang family was grateful to him. He originally wanted to return to the Zhao family, but was retained by the Wang family. Su Chen had no choice but to call Zhou Wanqiu first to make sure that he and Aunt Zhao were safe at home. After hanging up, Su Chen contacted Zhou Wanqiu again and said that he had something to do and would not be home for dinner. As a result, Zhou Wanqiu responded coldly from the other side, "You can come back or not." Then, Zhou Wanqiu hung up the phone directly. Su Chen looked puzzled. When he was in the hospital today, this woman's attitude had just improved. Why did she suddenly go crazy again? How did he offend her? At this time, in the hospital ward, Zhou Wanqiu threw his mobile phone on the table with an angry look. On the hospital bed, Zhao Pingjiang looked at Zhou Wanqiu and asked, "What's wrong?" Zhou Wanqiu replied, "Nothing." Zhao Pingjiang smiled, "I'm your father, can you hide it from me?" It must be Su Chen's call. You have never lost control of your emotions because of other people. For him? Does Su Chen deserve it? Zhou Wanqiu hurriedly denied. Zhao Pingjiang did not comment and smiled and leaned against the head of the bed. "Anyway, think about it yourself. Now, I think your grandfather has a good vision. Su Chen is not bad. No matter in medical skills or martial arts, he has made great achievements. Moreover, his personality and temper are also good, and he has no ambitions. You are the only daughter in our family. On second thought, it would be nice to recruit him as a son-in-law," Zhao Pingjiang said with a smile. This time, escaping from the hands of Shen Zhongyuan made him more open-minded about many things. In particular, after knowing that the person who saved his life was Su Chen again, he became more accepting of Su Chen. Of course, Zhao Pingjiang would not force his daughter to accept Su Chen. It's just that he felt that his daughter's feelings towards Su Chen seemed to have changed a little, so he would persuade her a few words. Zhou Wanqiu looked at his father's half-smile eyes and blushed immediately. "Dad, what are you talking about? I won't pay attention to you. I'm going home." As he said this, Zhou Wanqiu stood up and left with a red face. Until he got into his own car, Zhou Wanqiu's heart was still pounding. Damn it. Not only grandpa and mom were won over by that annoying guy, but now even dad is on his side. Humph. Anyway, no matter what, I will not accept Su Chen, a playboy. Back then, the rich young master from the provincial capital pursued me, but I didn't agree. This playboy, forget it. Zhou Wanqiu encouraged himself and drove home. On the other side, at the Wang family dinner, Su Chen was treated with great courtesy. Wang Xingzu, Li Yuan and others apologized to Su Chen and Sun Zongjing again. Then, they toasted Su Chen again and again. Su Chen didn't want to drink, but he couldn't refuse the kindness, so he could only drink 2 glasses with them. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, the atmosphere at the table was harmonious. Wang Xingzu's eyes moved back and forth between Su Chen and Qin Yao. He suddenly said, "Mr. Su, I remember that, when you came to our house last time, Yao said that she and you were in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, right?" As soon as these words came out, the scene suddenly became quiet. Wang Tao, Li Yuan and others were delighted and looked at Su Chen expectantly. Sun Zongjing was a little puzzled. After all, he had heard Zhou Wanqiu let Su Chen and Zhou Wanqiu get married. Bian Sansin was envious. In his opinion, being able to marry a miracle doctor like Su Chen was a blessing that he had cultivated for several lifetimes. Yao, Mr. Su, is this true? Wang Xingzu asked again. Su Chen turned to look at Qin Yao, his expression slightly helpless. This was Qin Yao's fault, so she should explain it. Qin Yao playfully stuck out her tongue at Su Chen, turned around and said, "Of course it's true." As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone in the Wang family was surprised and happy, while Su Chen and Sun Zongjing were simply shocked. At this time, Qin Yao said again, "It's just that I think so. Su Chen hasn't accepted it yet. That is to say, I'm still chasing him, and he hasn't accepted me yet." Qin Yao maintained her usual playful style. A big breath made everyone's mentality fluctuate violently. Even Su Chen was almost scared by her. Wang Xingzu's joy suddenly disappeared. He glared at Qin and said, "You girl, you have been naughty since you were young. Can you talk about such things?" On the side, Qin aunt Li Yulan said to Su Chen, "Mr. Su, our Yao has had this personality since she was young, very likable. If you live together in the future, you will definitely be happy every day." As she spoke, she secretly kicked Wan Tao beside her. Wan Tao nodded quickly. Yes, Yao is very outstanding, and she is also a happy person. Wang Xingzu on the side realized that his son and daughter-in-law were speaking well of their granddaughter. He also smiled and said, "Yes, I think you two look like a couple." Su Chen was a little confused. A good thank you banquet turned into a blind date. Even with Qin Yao's boldness, she felt a little embarrassed. "Okay, grandpa, uncle, aunt, stop talking. I will try my best to get Su Chen," Qin Yao said with a stiff face. Everyone in the Wan family smiled and did not dwell on this issue. Soon, the meal was a great pleasure for both the host and the guests. Everyone separated. Qin Yao drove Su Chen away. In the pink Mercedes-Benz G, Qin Yao said while driving, "Thank you for helping my cousin with her treatment. Also, don't mind what my grandpa and the others said." Su Chen smiled. "I'm used to your mouth talking nonsense all day long. Besides, I'm not surprised by anything that happens when I'm with you." Qin Yao suddenly looked serious. She looked at Su Chen and said, "What if I say that I really plan to pursue you and want to get you?" Su Chen was stunned. In the driver's seat, Qin Yao looked serious. There was a hint of temptation on her exquisite and beautiful face. There was a gentle smile in her bright eyes. Su Chen was stunned, not knowing how to answer. Puff. A sweet laugh came out of Qin Yao's mouth. "Look at you, you're so scared, and you still dare to say that you've gotten used to it. Ha ha ha." Qin Yao laughed out loud. She had straightened her body, looked ahead, and drove steadily. Su Chen was speechless. "Is it interesting?" "Very interesting." Qin Yao shook her head, very proud. Su Chen shook his head helplessly. This time, Qin Yao still sent Su Chen a few hundred meters outside the Zhao family villa. When Su Chen returned home, Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Giran were waiting for him to come back. Seeing Su Chen coming back, the two hurriedly came up to him and asked about his health. They had all been to the hospital to see Zhao Pingjiang and knew how dangerous what happened today was. Therefore, they were even more grateful to Su Chen. After chatting with the two for a long time, Su Chen went upstairs again. The bedroom door opened. Zhou Wanqiu was already half sitting and half lying on the bed. Seeing Su Chen come in, her nose twitched and her brows frowned slightly. "You smell so much of alcohol. Where did you go to fool around again?" Su Chen left with Qin Yao, and now he came back with alcohol, which made Zhou Wanqiu feel inexplicably angry. Thinking of what Zhao Pingjiang said to her in the afternoon, it was even more difficult for Zhou Wanqiu to have a good face to Su Chen. Su Chen was a little bit at fault. The Wang family toasted too enthusiastically, and he couldn't help it. Now he returned to the bedroom and affected Zhou Wanqiu, which was indeed his fault. "I'll pay attention next time." Su Chen whispered, "I'll take a shower now." After that, he walked towards the bathroom. Seeing Su Chen's attitude, Zhou Wanqiu was a little irritated. She didn't know whether she should be happy or angry. The relationship between the two had eased a lot today, but now, it inexplicably changed back. Zhou Wanqiu slapped the teddy bear beside the pillow, and then lay down in the quilt angrily. After Su Chen finished washing up, he returned to the floor and sat cross-legged. The two didn't talk anymore. Zhou Wanqiu fell asleep very late. The next day, two luxury cars set out from the provincial capital one after another. Their destinations were both Bincheng. Chapter 114 Zhou Wanqiu's suspicion. In the morning, two luxury cars set off from the provincial capital one after another. Their destination was the same, Bincheng. To be precise, they were both for Su Chen and the Zhao family. The first luxury car to leave the provincial capital was a Toyota Alpha. In the back seat, there were two middle-aged men. They were Zhao Changshan, who looked murderous, and his senior brother Chen Doru. The luxury car that set off later was a stretched Lincoln. It slowly drove out of the Ran family, the top family in the provincial capital, and headed towards Bincheng. The driver was a male bodyguard in a suit wearing sunglasses. Rang Rui's, the young master mentioned by He Zenshan, was dark and indifferent. Next to him was an old man with grey hair. The white-haired old man was wearing a black martial arts suit, and his spirit was full. However, there was a faint smell of decay on his body. Rang Rui's frowned slightly, but did not say anything. After all, this was the master of Zhuanjin arranged for him by the family. Zhou family villa. After Su Chen and Zhou Wanqiu finished breakfast, Zhou Wanqiu went to Bincheng Central Hospital to visit Zhao Pingjiang. Su Chen, on the other hand, had nothing else to do, so he continued to go to the company. It was almost noon. A Toyota Alphard arrived outside Zhao Changling's villa. Wow. The car door opened, and a majestic figure walked out of the car. It was Zhao Changshan. Zhao Changling's bodyguards were waiting outside the villa, and they were overjoyed when they saw him get out of the car. Zhao Changshan was led into the villa, and saw Zhao Changling lying on the bed. "Brother!" Zhao Changshan cried out in grief, and threw himself in front of the bed. "Brother!" Zhao Changling couldn't help, but burst into tears. "Did that bastard break your leg?" Zhao Changshan stroked his brother's broken leg, his eyes full of murderous intent. Zhao Changling nodded and said hatefully, "That's right. Su Chen not only broke my leg, but also killed Jie. In the end, he made me spend 500 million to buy my life." Zhao Changshan's eyes were fierce. "How dare you? How dare you take advantage of my Zhao family?" Zhao Changshan gritted his teeth. "Zhao Catering Group and Su Chen, right? I'm going to take their lives now." After saying this, Zhao Changshan stood up and prepared to kill. At this time, Zhao Changling hurriedly said, "Brother, don't be careless. Although Su Chen is only in his early 20s, he is a master of Zhuanjin and has killed Shen Zhongyuan. You'd better bring an extra helper, just in case." Zhao Changshan sneered, "Don't worry. This time, I brought my senior brother Chendoru back to Bincheng. But he is busy with some personal matters now. I'll go to Zhao's house to test it out first. If Su Chen is really capable, I will retreat first and call Chendoru to kill him together." Hearing this, Zhao Changling was relieved. "That's good. I've asked someone to find out that Zhao Pingjiang was seriously injured by Shen Zhongyuan and is now recuperating in Bincheng Central Hospital. Zhou Wanqiu is also accompanying him. You can go there to find them. In addition." Zhao Changling gritted his teeth and said, "Brother, if you can defeat Su Chen, you will destroy him and leave him alive. I will torture him." Zhao Changshan nodded and turned away. Ding-ling-ling. Su Chen was having lunch when his cell phone rang suddenly. He looked down and saw that it was a call from Yao Zhenfeng in the provincial capital. "Hello, Mr. Yao, why did you think of calling me?" Su Chen asked curiously. This time, Yao Zhenfeng did not joke like usual, but said in a serious tone, "Zhao, there is something I have to inform you of." "What's the matter?" Su Chen asked. Yao Zhenfeng said, "Recently, I have arranged for people to keep an eye on Zhao Changling's brother Zhao Changshan. Just today, Zhao Changshan has left the provincial capital and headed for Bincheng." Su Chen's expression suddenly became serious. "Old Yao, when did Zhao Changshan leave? And, was he alone?" Yao Zhenfeng said, "I received the news late. He should have left this morning, and has probably arrived in Bincheng now. He is not alone, but with his senior brother Chendoru from Jindao sect. Zhao Changshan is a Zhuanjin cultivator, and Chendoru has been a Zhuanjin master for many years. You must pay more attention." Su Chen nodded. "Okay, old Yao. Thank you for the news." Su Chen said a few polite words, and hung up the phone. With a trace of seriousness on his face, he pushed the door and went out. He took a taxi. "Master, go to Bincheng Central Hospital," Su Chen said. "Now, the people that Zhao Changling brothers want to deal with are himself and the Zhao family. Among these people, the easiest to find is Zhao Pingjiang, who is recuperating in the hospital." So, Su Chen was going to wait in the hospital. Sitting in the back seat of the taxi, Su Chen thought for a moment and took out his cell phone. He called Chen Zhongai. In Zhongai Hall, Chen Zhongai's cell phone vibrated, and he looked down with a look of surprise. Su Chen actually called him. Mr. Su, what do you want? Chen Zhangyi asked respectfully. Su Chen said, Mr. Chen, I want to trouble you for a favor. Chen Zhangyi said quickly, Mr. Su, please don't be polite to me, just give me your orders. Su Chen didn't waste any words and said directly, please send a few groups of people to follow the Zhou family, Zhou's catering group and Bincheng Central Hospital. Zhou Changling's brother Zhou Changshan has returned from the provincial capital and will probably cause trouble for me and the Zhou family. I don't need you to stop him, just find out his location and dynamics. Of course, if the Zhou family is in danger, I hope the brothers of Zhangyi Hall can help. Chen Zhangyi said quickly, Mr. Su, no problem. It's Milner. The phone was hung up. Su Chen quickly called Zhou Wanqiu and asked him to hide with Aunt Zhao first. Although Su Chen judged that Zhou Changshan would most likely go to Bincheng Central Hospital first, he couldn't prepare more. Zhou Wanqiu was old and shrewd. As soon as Su Chen said it, he already understood what was going on. Then, Su Chen called Zhou Wanqiu again. Beep. After a call standby sound, the phone was connected. What's the matter? Tell me. A cold voice came from the other side. Su Chen was speechless, but still said, Zhou Changling's brother Zhou Changshan has arrived in Bincheng. He should be looking for trouble with us. I have called my grandfather and asked him to take Aunt Zhao out first. You'd better take Uncle Zhao out first. When I get there, it will be safe. In the voice tube, Zhou Wanqiu's breathing became slightly rapid, and it seemed that she could not maintain the coldness just now. However, Zhou Wanqiu quickly asked back, where did you get the news? Su Chen was stunned. Zhou Wanqiu did not seem to believe in his own source of information. Su Chen thought about it and said, I have a friend in the provincial capital. After he knew that we offended the Zhou family, he helped me keep an eye on Zhou Changshan. He told me about this. Your friend? Or from the provincial capital? This is not the first time you have come out of the village. Where did your friend from the provincial capital come from? Zhou Wanqiu's tone was full of doubt. Su Chen was in pain. It's already this time. Can this woman's focus be a little more normal? Okay, I got it. Zhou Wanqiu said, and hung up the phone. Beep. Listening to the busy tone coming from the receiver, Su Chen was a little speechless. He didn't know whether Zhou Wanqiu heard it or not. Master, please drive faster. Su Chen said to the taxi driver. On the other side, in the hospital ward, Zhao Pingjiang glanced at Zhou Wanqiu. Zhou Chen's call? What did he say? Zhao Pingjiang asked. Zhou Wanqiu said with an unhappy face. He said that Zhou Changling's brother Zhou Changshan came to Bincheng from the provincial capital, and he is expected to cause trouble for us. Let's change to another ward and hide until he comes. Even if Zhou Changshan really comes to Bincheng, we are in the hospital now, and I don't believe he dares to kill people in public. Zhou Wanqiu's face was slightly cold. Besides, Su Chen has only left the village once in his life, and he hasn't been out for a few days in total. Where can he get friends from the provincial capital? At most, they are just some bad friends. This kind of news can't be believed. Thinking of Su Chen coming back drunk last night, Zhou Wanqiu was angry and said a lot in a row. However, Zhao Pingjiang's face changed slightly. Wanqiu, I think we'd better believe it. Su Chen wouldn't joke about such a thing. Zhou Wanqiu was quite helpless when she saw her father standing on Su Chen's side. Dad, Wanqiu, you are a little emotional about Su Chen, and it has begun to affect your judgment. You need to pay attention. Zhao Pingjiang said seriously. Looking at her father's serious eyes, Zhou Wanqiu could only shut up. She nodded helplessly. Okay, I listen to you. Let's hide for a while. Anyway, I don't believe in Su Chen's bad friends. Zhou Wanqiu muttered and was about to push Zhao Pingjiang out. At this moment, the door of the ward opened with a bang. A figure appeared in front of the father and daughter. Zhao Pingjiang, Zhou Wanqiu, where are you going? The person who came was Zhou Changshan. Chapter 115. This is an order, not a discussion. Zhao Pingjiang and his daughter looked at each other, as if they had guessed something. The man in front of them looked 80% similar to Zhou Changling. Both of them looked a little flustered. Who are you? What do you want to do? Zhou Wanqiu asked. Zhou Changshan sneered. My name is Zhou Changshan, and Zhou Changling is my brother. With this introduction, you two should be somewhat familiar with me, right? After all, you are the first person in Bincheng who dares to clamor to ban my Zhou family. There was a bit of teasing in Zhou Changshan's eyes, like a cat teasing a mouse. Zhou Wanqiu's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. At the same time, her face was a little hot. Just now, she questioned Su Chen's news channel to Zhao Pingjiang, thinking that Su Chen's friends were just bad friends. Now it is proved that Su Chen's news is correct, and she is the wrong person. Her father is right, and her prejudice against Su Chen has affected her judgment. Zhao Pingjiang lay on the hospital bed and said, Mr. Zhao, I have heard of your name for a long time. It's a pleasure to meet you. Zhou Changshan sneered. Zhao Pingjiang continued, Mr. Zhao, in fact, the conflict between us and the Zhao family did not originate from our Zhao family. It was the Zhao family that attacked our Zhao family first, and the Zhao family only resisted to protect themselves. Now, I'm seriously injured in bed, and the Zhao family has also suffered heavy losses. Why don't we stop fighting and make peace with each other? We, the Zhao family, are willing to return the 500 million yuan that the Zhao family compensated to the Zhao family. At this time, Zhou Changshan sneered. Zhou Changling closed the door. Bang! Zhao Pingjiang and his daughter's hearts suddenly lifted. Zhou Wanqiu even secretly sent a message to Su Chen on his mobile phone. Zhou Changling sneered while slowly walking to the bedside. The next moment, he raised his hand suddenly. A mysterious force directly hit Zhao Pingjiang. Bang! Puff! Zhao Pingjiang rolled off the bed, spurting out a mouthful of blood, and his whole breath was weak. Dad! Zhao Wanqiu screamed, rushed to him, and helped Zhao Pingjiang up. A trace of despair appeared on the faces of the father and daughter. It seemed that Zhou Changshan was really going to kill someone in the hospital. Zhou Changshan, all this was obviously caused by your Zhao family. Why did you still want to hurt people? Zhou Wanqiu raised her head and shouted. Looking at the angry expressions of the father and daughter, Zhou Changshan sneered. My Zhao family wants to attack your Zhao family, can't you just bear it? I didn't expect that you not only dared to resist, but also dared to kill my Zhao family. Just for this one, your Zhao family must be wiped out. Still want to be even, dreaming. Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Pingjiang were shocked. What a domineering Zhao family. What a cruel Zhou Changshan. When the Zhao family bullies others, others must endure it. If you want to resist, you deserve to die, and your entire family should be wiped out. Zhou Changshan smiled coldly and said, I heard that the four masters of the Zhao family and Shen Zhongyuan were all killed by a boy named Su Chen. Where is he now? Zhou Wanqiu was about to speak, but Zhao Pingjiang quickly spoke first. Su Chen has left the Zhao family and returned to the village to find his grandfather. You lied. Zhou Changshan raised his foot and kicked Zhao Pingjiang. Zhao Pingjiang was like a football, flying hard on the ground, and stopped only after hitting a table in the distance. Zhou Wanqiu was also brought to the ground, with her hair and clothes all messed up. Puff! Zhao Pingjiang spurted out blood again. His face was as white as paper, and his breath was weak. Dad! Zhou Wanqiu struggled to get up, and ran towards Zhao Pingjiang. She looked at Zhao Pingjiang's miserable appearance, and tears suddenly flowed down. However, the next second, Zhou Changshan walked up directly, stretched out his hand to pinch Zhao Wanqiu's neck, and lifted her up. Tell me, where is that kid Su Chen? Zhao Wanqiu's face flushed, and she had difficulty breathing. Zhou Changshan loosened his hand slightly to let her take a breath. Bah! Zhao Wanqiu spat at Zhou Changshan directly, staring at him and said, Su Chen has left. When he comes back, he will definitely kill you. Even if he can't kill you, he will definitely kill Zhou Changling. You will live in fear of being retaliated by Su Chen for the rest of your life. Zhou Changshan was directly enraged by this sentence. Pa! A slap was slapped directly on Zhao Wanqiu's face. The next second, Zhao Wanqiu's face quickly became red and swollen. A trace of blood flowed down the corner of her mouth, but Zhao Wanqiu still stared at Zhou Changshan. Haha, you are afraid. Zhao Wanqiu's attitude made Zhou Changshan's heart burn with anger. I'm afraid? Zhou Changshan looked fierce. I will strip you naked now and throw you outside the hospital corridor. Let's see who will be afraid. Zhou Wanqiu's face changed drastically. In the corner, Zhao Pingjiang also tried to stand up and stop him, but he spat out a mouthful of blood as soon as he moved. Ha ha ha. Zhou Changshan laughed wildly and grabbed Zhao Wanqiu's coat. Swish. The sound of fabric tearing was heard, and the coat was torn to pieces. Zhao Wanqiu fell to the ground, her face full of panic. She protected her underwear with both hands and stepped back like a frightened kitten. Haha. Zhou Changshan's face was full of arrogance. Weren't you so arrogant just now? Why are you scared now? As he spoke, Zhou Changshan stepped forward again and grabbed Zhao Wanqiu directly. Zhao Wanqiu struggled violently, but her strength was no match for Zhou Changshan. Zhou Changshan, with a ferocious smile, was ready to tear off her underwear. Zhao Wanqiu looked desperate. At this moment, boom. A loud noise came. The door of the ward exploded directly. A man's figure appeared at the door of the ward. Su Chen. Zhao Wanqiu was so excited that tears came out. Zhou Changshan also stopped what he was doing and turned to look at Su Chen. You are Su Chen? Did you kill my nephew Zhou Shiji? Did you also break my brother Zhou Changling's legs? Zhou Changshan looked at the young man in his early 20s in front of him with a hint of disbelief. Although he had heard of Su Chen's age, he was still a little surprised to see him in person. Su Chen did not answer him, but looked around the ward. When he saw Zhao Pingjiang, who was dying on the ground in the corner of the ward, and Zhao Wanqiu, who was in tattered clothes, his eyes suddenly turned cold. Let her go. Su Chen said coldly. Okay. Zhou Changshan said cruelly, as long as you kneel down and cut off one of your arms, I will let her go. He looked proud. If Su Chen really cut off one of his arms, he would definitely not be his opponent anymore. Zhao Wanqiu was startled, and she quickly shouted, no. Ah. Zhou Changshan exerted a little force with his hand, and Zhao Wanqiu cried out in pain. Su Chen, why don't you kneel down and cut off one of your arms? He had just finished speaking. Su Chen raised his hand, and 2 silver needles shot out with lightning. Zhou Changshan felt his hand go limp, and Zhao Wanqiu fell directly, escaping his control. The next second, Su Chen turned into a shadow, and in the blink of an eye he was in front of Zhou Changshan. A punch. A sudden blow. The mysterious power burst out instantly. Zhou Changshan flew backwards, as if he was hit by a train. Boom. Zhou Changshan knocked down countless equipment and smashed hard against the wall. Su Chen stepped forward, helped Zhao Pingjiang up, and put clothes on Zhao Wanqiu. He looked at Zhou Changshan indifferently. I asked you to let her go. It was an order, not a negotiation with you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. Old Enemies Meet. Zhou Changshan leaned against the wall. He was full of Zuanjin, squeezing out the 2 silver needles and letting his body return to normal. Looking at Su Chen in front of him, Zhou Changshan's eyes were full of shock and panic. Just now, he didn't see Su Chen's movements clearly. It seems that Su Chen's cultivation is definitely not inferior to his own. We must bring our senior brothers to deal with this kid together. Zhou Changshan's eyes rolled. Go to hell. The next second, he roared. Then, he raised his hand and threw out several hidden weapons. There were several black cones flashing with blue light, which were poisonous at first glance. Su Chen flashed and blocked in front of Zhao Wanqiu and his daughter, and quickly took action to intercept them directly. At this time, Zhou Changshan broke through the window and fled. Su Chen glanced at Zhao Pingjiang and Zhao Wanqiu, hesitated. He quickly took out the silver needles and gave them a simple treatment. After confirming that Zhao Pingjiang was not in danger of life, he chased out. Su Chen, be careful. Zhao Wanqiu ran to the window and shouted loudly. However, there was no sign of Su Chen outside. The 2 chased and fled. In the forest outside the city, Zhou Changshan was soon caught up by Su Chen. Zhou Changshan turned around and stared at Su Chen fiercely. Boy, forgive others when you can. If you retreat now, I will not trouble the Zhao family and you anymore. Su Chen looked at Zhou Changshan and said coldly, do you know why I didn't kill Zhou Changling? Zhou Changshan was stunned. Because I was waiting for you to come. Su Chen asked himself and answered. Zhou Changshan's pupils shrank, and he turned around and ran again. At this time, he regretted that he was too anxious, and did not come to find Su Chen with his senior brother Chendoru. The next second, Su Chen was close to Zhou Changshan. I will fight you. Zhou Changshan roared, and the mysterious energy on his body burst out. On his fists and feet, there was a metallic luster. This is the secret skill of Jindao Zhang. He dodged his feet fiercely, and the ground shook. With the rebound force, he rushed towards Su Chen fiercely. The breath was fierce and the momentum was like thunder. Su Chen did not dodge or evade, but raised his fist and went forward. Zhou Changshan was overjoyed. The strongest point of the Jindao sect was attack. If Su Chen relied on his terrifying speed to fight, he would still have a headache. But now, he chose to fight him head on, which was purely courting death. The next second, the two fists collided. Clang! A metallic sound rang out. The joy on Zhou Changshan's face froze instantly. A terrifying mysterious force rushed over like a dead tree and rotten wood. Crack! A bone-breaking sound rang out. Su Chen's fist passed through Zhou Changshan's arms and hit him directly in the chest. Puff! Zhou Changshan spurted out a mouthful of blood. Your mysterious force is so strong. My senior brother and master will avenge me. Zhou Changshan's heart broke, and he died on the spot. Looking at Zhou Changshan's body, Su Chen had no expression on his face. In this way, the Zhou family can no longer make any waves. However, the senior brother and master that Zhou Changshan just mentioned still need to be paid attention to. Yao Zhenfeng said that Zhou Changshan came to Bincheng this time with his senior brother Chendoru. We still need to find Chendoru's location in time. Su Chen was thinking, and suddenly, the phone rang. Half an hour ago. On the other side, Li's villa. Li Xiaolei sat on the main seat, accompanied by Li Chunren. And in the guest of honor seat, sat an old man, Wang Xingzhu, the head of the Wang family. Old Wang, we are relieved to have you here this time. Li Chunren complimented. Wang Xingzhu laughed. I still have to thank old Li for his trust in me. The last time the Li family was attacked, I went to Beijing to find a miracle doctor and couldn't come to help. I have always felt guilty. This time I can atone for my sins. Li Xiaolei asked, I wonder how the condition of your granddaughter is, old patriarch Wang. Speaking of this, Wang Xingzhu was in a better mood. He smiled and said, she's recovered. She woke up from a coma today and will probably be able to get out of bed in 2 days. Li Chunren said, sure enough, the miracle doctor in Shangjing is really amazing. I heard that Mr. Wang's granddaughter has been bedridden for a long time, and the miracle doctor in Shangjing came and cured her. Wang Xingzhu shook his head. Nephew Li, you are wrong. In fact, the miracle doctor in Shangjing also failed. The one who cured my granddaughter was a local miracle doctor in Bincheng. Li Chunren was stunned and a little embarrassed. Wang Xingzhu didn't care. He asked directly, let's not talk about my family first. Let's talk about the enemy this time. The father and son of the Li family nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Li Xiaolei said, in fact, the enemy who came to my Li family to seek revenge this time has something to do with Wu Gang who came to the Li family last time. Wu Gang was insulted by my son many years ago, so he became his disciple and studied martial arts. Last time he came to seek revenge, he was killed by the master invited by our Li family. The one who came this time is his master, Chendoru of Jindao sect. This man has been a master of Zhuanjin for many years. I wonder if Mr. Wang will feel pressured? Li Xiaolei and Li Chunren stared at Wang Xingzhu closely. Wang Xingzhu frowned slightly when he heard the name Chendoru. The father and son of the Li family suddenly became nervous. Mr. Wang, is it very difficult? Or should we find some other helpers? Li Chunren asked hurriedly. Li Xiaolei glared at Li Chunren. His son really has a low IQ and EQ. Wang Xingzhu smiled and shook his head. This Chendoru is a bit tricky, but I'm not afraid of him. More than 10 years ago, I had just entered Zhuanjin and had a fight with Chendoru. At that time, he had just become a master of Zhuanjin. Li Chunren asked hurriedly, who won and who lost? That time, we fought for a long time and finally ended in a tie, Wang Xingzu said. Then, a confident smile appeared on his face. These years have passed, and I, an old man, have studied hard and never wasted time. I believe that, if I fight him again today, I will never be inferior to him. Hearing this, the father and son of the Li family breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. As long as we can tie with Chendoru, our Li family doesn't mind giving him some compensation, Li Xiaolei said. Wang Xingzu said, please rest assured, Master Li, if the old man Jin Guang from the Jindao sect comes, I may be a little afraid. But if it's just Chendoru who comes, I will definitely not let him be arrogant. As soon as he finished speaking, a cold snort sounded. Haha. Wang Xingzu, who gave you the courage to speak so arrogantly? The faces of the three people in the hall suddenly changed, and they all looked out the door. At this time, a thin figure walked in. The man had a big frame, and a pair of big hands with distinct joints, faintly glowing with black light. It was Wu Gang's master, Zhou Changshan's senior brother, Chendoru. Chendoru. Although he hadn't seen him for more than 10 years, Wang Xingzu still recognized him at first sight. Chendoru approached slowly, as casually as if he was at home. Wang Xingzu, you are so courageous. You dare to interfere in my affairs. Aren't you afraid that you will lose your life because of meddling in other people's business? Chendoru showed sarcasm on his face. Wang Xingzu was not polite. If you want to kill me, your master, old man Jin Guang, may still have a chance. As for you, if you can fight me to a draw, like you did more than a decade ago, you'll be lucky. Your disciple died because he wanted to kill the whole family, and his skills were inferior to his. If you know what's good for you, you should make peace with the Li family, so as not to make mistakes. Hearing this, Chendoru laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. What an arrogant Wang Xingzu. More than a decade ago, I thought you were a big shot, but I didn't expect you to be a person who only sees the world from a narrow perspective. Does staying in this small Bincheng make you feel invincible? Today, I'll show you how ridiculous your martial arts that you have developed behind closed doors is. As he spoke, Chendoru rushed over. Wang Xingzu's face changed slightly. He didn't expect that Chendoru was not afraid of him at all, which made him angry. In a flash, the two of them were fighting together. Bang, bang, bang. A series of loud noises exploded. The two masters of Zhuanjin were like two human-shaped Tyrannosaurus Rex. A terrifying aura swirled around them. With a stomp of their feet, the floor cracked. With a touch, the furniture shattered into pieces. Li Xiaolei and Li Chunren hid far away. Watching the fight between the two, Li Xiaolei frowned slightly. After a moment, he took out his cell phone and sent a message. The recipient was Su Chen. Chapter 117. That person is you. Li's villa. In the hall, two masters of Zhuanjin attacked each other frantically. In the corner, the father and son of the Li family retreated again and again, trembling. They had never seen a battle of this level. After Li Xiaolei sent the message, he continued to look at the two people on the battlefield with a serious face. Dad, what were you doing just now? Li Chunren saw Li Xiaolei's action and asked. Li Xiaolei whispered, I sent a message to Su Chen and asked him to come over. I hope he can arrive before the head of the Wang family is defeated, and the two can fight Chendoru together. Li Chunren was stunned. Hearing Su Chen's name, he felt a little disgusted. He asked with a puzzled look, Dad, since the old head of the Wang family is here, why do we still need Su Chen to come? Don't you see? Now, Chendoru has the advantage, and it's only a matter of time before the head of the Wang family is defeated. Li Xiaolei said. Li Chunren's face changed, and he quickly looked at the two people fighting. At this time, Wang Xingzu was attacking Chendoru frantically, and it seemed that he had the upper hand. However, although Chendoru dodged, he was not at all confused. Occasionally, Wang Xingzu would return a punch, but he would quickly dodge. After a long time of attacking without success, Wang Xingzu's face also flashed with impatience. Wang Xingzu, is this all you can do? Chendoru said sarcastically. Hearing this, Wang Xingzu's face became more impatient. But he said sarcastically, Chendoru, what are you proud of? After so many years, you don't even have the courage to fight me. Is this what the Jindao sect taught you? The more you practice, the worse it gets. Chendoru smiled coldly, okay. Then it's as you wish. After the voice fell, Chendoru shouted angrily, "Golden sand palm." The next moment, endless mysterious energy poured into Chendoru's palms. The palms that were originally much larger than those of ordinary people actually became larger again. Chendoru's two palms turned out to be like small palm leaves, and they also emitted a black and gold metallic light, which was very scary. Bang, bang. Chendoru's palms collided, and there was a terrifying sound of metal colliding. Wang Xingzu's expression was cautious. When he fought with Chendoru many years ago, his golden sand palm had never reached this level. Go to hell. Chendoru roared, and his huge palm slapped towards Wang Xingzu. Wang Xingzu had nowhere to hide, so he punched him directly. He had also practiced martial arts hard, and he didn't believe that he would suffer a loss in a fist fight with Chendoru. Bang! The fists and palms collided. Wang Xingzu only felt that he punched the steel plate. If he really hit the steel plate with his Zhuanjin master's Zhuanjin, he would also be confident that he could break through it. However, Chendoru's palm was unstoppable. Crack. A bone fracture sounded, and Wang Xingzu felt a sharp pain in his arm. Then, Chendoru clenched his other hand into a fist, carrying a dark golden light, and smashing it hard. Wang Xingzu crossed his hands and tried to resist. Boom. Chendoru's iron fist carried great power, like a terrifying pendulum. Wang Xingzu was struck by lightning, and his body was completely out of control, and he flew backwards. Squeak. A terrifying scratch was plowed on the floor. Wang Xingzu forced himself to stabilize his body, but he could no longer control himself, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. Puff. He looked at Chendoru in shock. This old enemy has now grown to such a terrifying level. It turns out that what Chendoru said about sitting in a well and looking at the sky is true. Wang Xingzu's face was ugly, but Chendoru didn't stop at all, but took a big step to catch up. Go to hell. The giant palm like a shovel hit again. Wang Xingzu wanted to resist, but it was too late, and he was hit directly. Puff. Another mouthful of blood spurted out. Wang Xingzu's body drew an arc and was thrown directly in front of the Li family father and son. Li Xiaolei and Li Chunren hurriedly helped him up. Wang Xingzu's face was as pale as gold paper, and his breath was disordered. Old patriarchally, I'm really sorry, I'm really not as skilled as you. Wang Xingzu's face was full of frustration and guilt. Li Xiaolei hurriedly said, Patriarch Wang, please don't say that. You've already helped a lot by coming to my Li family. Having said that, Li Xiaolei was extremely anxious. After he saw that Wang Xingzu was no match for Chendoru, he immediately contacted Su Chen, hoping that Su Chen would come and join forces with Wang Xingzu. But now, before Su Chen arrived, Wang Xingzu had already fallen, while Chendoru didn't seem to have any injuries. This made him quite desperate, and Li Chunren was even more anxious. Patriarch Wang, can't you fight anymore? Then what should we do? Shut up. Li Xiaolei scolded. Li Chunren had no choice but to shut up. At this time, Chendoru walked slowly with a smile of victory on his face. Wang Xingzu, you are a frog in the well. Do you think you can suppress me after working behind closed doors for more than 10 years? Ridiculous. I, Chendoru, have lived in the provincial capital for a long time. I have mastered the top secrets of the Jindao sect. I'm fighting against masters of the same level. My efforts are no less than yours. What qualifications do you have to compete with me? It was a shame in my life that I tied with you more than 10 years ago. I originally wanted to find you after dealing with the Li and Zhao families, but I didn't expect that you would come to me to die. Haha. Chendoru laughed arrogantly. Wang Xingzu's face was ugly. On the side, Li Xiaolei said, Master Chen, the head of the Wang family has nothing to do with this matter. Can you let him go? Haha, are you qualified to negotiate with me? Chendoru smiled coldly and hit him with the palm. Bang. Li Xiaolei flew backwards. Dad. Li Chunren shouted and ran over to help Li Xiaolei up. Li Xiaolei felt that his internal organs were dislocated and the pain was unbearable. Chendoru no longer cared about Wang Xingzu, but walked directly to Li Xiaolei. Tell me, who killed my apprentice Wu Gang? Chendoru's voice was cold. Li Xiaolei injured the pain. Wu Gang was killed by a sneak attack by a gunman, arranged by my Li family for the bodyguard. My Li family is willing to bear all the consequences. Chendoru smiled grimly. You are lying. As he spoke, Chendoru grabbed Li Xiaolei's arm and exerted force. With a snap. Ah! Li Xiaolei cried out in pain, and beads of sweat as big as beans appeared on Li Xiaolei's forehead. He knew that his arm bones had been broken. The bones are very hard. I admire you very much. Chendoru showed a cruel look on his face. You can choose not to tell the truth. However, I will break your bones one by one. I just don't know. Let's see how hard they are. Li Xiaolei's face changed slightly. Li Chunrun, who was standing aside, was so scared that his legs were shaking. Tell me, who killed my apprentice Wu Gang? Chendoru pinched Li Xiaolei's other arm and asked with a sneer. Li Xiaolei closed his eyes and stopped talking. Chendoru smiled cruelly and was about to exert force again. At this moment, a voice sounded from outside the door. If you dare to touch Elderly again, I will break all the bones in my body. In the hall, everyone was stunned. Su Chen's figure stepped in from outside the door. Seeing Su Chen, Li Xiaolei was immediately anxious. Su Chen, you go quickly. What happened here has nothing to do with you. Don't wade into this muddy water. He originally hoped that Su Chen and Wang Xingzu would join forces. Now that Wang Xingzu has fallen and Chendoru is so powerful, he estimated that Su Chen would die if he came. Wang Xingzu was also shocked when he saw Su Chen coming. He only knew that Su Chen was a miracle doctor who could cure his granddaughter, but he didn't know how good his martial arts skills were. Su Chen, you go quickly. What happened here has nothing to do with you. Wang Xingzu looked very anxious. At this time, Chendoru sneered. Want to leave? Impossible. Since you said such harsh words, you have to pay the price. Su Chen said lightly. Someone has to pay the price. But that person is you. Everyone's face changed drastically. Chapter 118. I was so angry. After Su Chen finished speaking, the scene suddenly became quiet. Wang Xingzu and Li Xiaolei were a little anxious. They did not think that Su Chen would be a match for Chendoru. Li Chunrun was angry. Su Chen's words would anger Chendoru, and his fate would be even worse. Sure enough, Chendoru laughed in anger. What a sharp-tongued and arrogant boy. I hope your fist will be as hard as your mouth later. After that, Chendoru put Li Xiaolei down and walked towards Su Chen step by step. He lowered his huge palms with both hands, which were shining with black and gold light, like a huge cattail leaf fan, bringing endless pressure to people. However, Su Chen did not see it and waited for him to come forward quietly. Chendoru stood in front of Su Chen and sneered. My name is Chendoru. When you go to the King of Hell in the future, don't wonder who killed you. You talk too much nonsense. Su Chen spoke lightly and then kicked out. This kick was like a gust of wind and as powerful as thunder. Endless Zhu engine, carrying a terrifying hurricane, kicked out a huge sonic boom. Chendoru's face changed instantly, and his two giant hands as big as a palm leaf fan crossed and blocked his chest. Clang! A metal collision sounded. Chendoru's body flew backwards. Thump thump thump. He retreated 7 or 8 steps in succession before he stabilized his body. On the side, Li Xiaolei and Li Chunrun were overjoyed, and Wang Xingzu's eyes were wide open. He never thought that Su Chen could kick Chendoru back with one kick. Although it was due to a sneak attack, it also proved that Su Chen's martial arts cultivation was at least a master of Zhuanjin. Moreover, he was not a beginner in Zhuanjin. Opposite Su Chen, Chendoru slapped his sleeves and stood firm. There was no trace of arrogance on his face, but instead it was full of shock and caution. You are actually a Zhuanjin cultivator. Who are you? Where are you from? Which sect are you from? Chendoru stared at Su Chen closely and asked questions one after another. In his opinion, Su Chen was only in his early 20s and was already a master of Zhuanjin. There was no other way except from a famous sect or a wealthy family. If he didn't ask clearly, it might bring disaster to Jindao sect. Su Chen's face was calm and he said in a cold voice, my name is Su Chen. I'm from the village. I don't have any sect or school. So, you are Su Chen. Chendoru's pupils shrank. Before Libin City, Zhao Changshan had told Chendoru that the man who killed the 4 masters of the Zhao family in Shenzhongyuan was called Su Chen. At that time, he thought Su Chen was a middle-aged man, but he didn't expect that he was a young man. A trace of murderous intent flashed in Chendoru's eyes. At this age, He has already reached such a level of cultivation. If he is allowed to develop further, he will become a big trouble in the future. So, you are Su Chen. I was thinking of looking for you after dealing with the Li family, but I didn't expect you to come to my door. This is better, so I don't have to run around. As soon as the voice fell, Chendoru pounced on him. Even though Su Chen had just kicked him away, he thought that it was just a sneak attack by the other party. If he had been prepared, Su Chen would definitely not be his opponent. Although Chendoru was sure that Su Chen was not his opponent, he still tried his best. The strong Zhou Wanqiu in his body surged through his meridians and finally gathered in his two big hands. His hands, which were already the size of a cat-tail leaf fan, instantly became 3 times larger. The originally dark golden palms actually had some luster, which looked even more terrifying. Chendoru waved his hand casually, and the chairs and furniture touched by his palms were instantly shattered. Seeing this scene, Li Xiaolei, Wang Xingzhu and others changed their faces slightly. They didn't know if Su Chen could withstand such a terrifying power. Go to hell. Chendoru roared, and the whole person jumped high. The 2 huge palms crushed down towards Su Chen's crown like a mountain. Gusts of wind blew Su Chen's clothes and hair. But Su Chen still did not move. Chendoru's eyes showed a trace of cruelty, as if he had seen the scene of Su Chen's head being smashed by him. Wang Xingzhu and others were shocked. Su Chen, be careful. At this moment, Su Chen moved. He attacked brazenly and raised a fist. Hit the huge palm. He actually chose to fight head on. Chendoru was overjoyed, and more Zhou Wanqiu rushed into his palms. However, the next second, he was stunned. The huge palms suppressed, but were gently resisted by Su Chen. The pair of giant palms fell on Su Chen's forehead within a fist's distance, but could not fall any further. Chendoru was full of shock. Then, he mobilized all his Zhou Wanqiu to rush towards his palms, trying to suppress Su Chen. However, Su Chen's fist was like a white jade pillar that supported the sky, making it difficult for him to move forward. The two persisted for a moment. Chendoru's eyes widened, his face flushed, but he could not do anything to Su Chen. Have you had enough? Su Chen looked at Chendoru coldly. It's my turn. The next second, Su Chen swung his fist directly, and in the blink of an eye, it landed on Chendoru's chest. Bang! A loud noise sounded. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out. Chendoru drew a curve like a rag doll, flew out backwards, and fell to the ground violently. Su Chen's violent Zhou Wanqiu was raging wildly in his meridians. Chendoru struggled to stand up, and ended up spurting out another mouthful of blood. Wang Xingzhu, Li Xiaolei and others were completely dumbfounded. They all knew how terrifying Chendoru was. However, at this moment, Chendoru, who seemed invincible in their eyes, was vulnerable in front of Su Chen. Wang Xingzhu's eyes were even more radiant. Before, when he knew that Su Chen was a medical sage, he was very supportive of his granddaughter Qinyao and Su Chen to have a good relationship. Now, seeing Su Chen's terrifying talent and achievements in martial arts, Wang Xingzhu was even more jealous. He wanted to call his granddaughter Qinyao right now, and encourage her to take Su Chen down as soon as possible. If Yao can't do it, I can still let Yuting get in touch with Su Chen, so that he can become my grandson-in-law, and have a closer relationship. Wang Xingzhu thought in his heart. How could Su Chen know that Wang Xingzhu actually had such an idea? At this moment, he looked at Chendoru coldly, and walked over slowly. Dap, dap, dap. The sound of footsteps, like the notification of the god of death, knocked in Chendoru's heart. Chendoru struggled to stand up, his eyes full of shock. Why is the Zhou Wanqiu in your body so strong? You have not only cultivated Zhou Wanqiu, right? Su Chen's expression was indifferent, and he did not answer. From childhood to adulthood, he has been practicing under the cultivation of his grandfather. Grandpa went through untold hardships, and used countless rare treasures and heavenly and earthly elixirs, to lay this incomparable foundation of martial arts for him. Su Chen walked slowly, and walked in front of Chendoru. Chendoru took a big step back, his eyes full of fear. Su Chen, if you let me go, I will never trouble the Li family again. Chendoru's tone softened. Are you negotiating with me? Su Chen smiled lightly and said lightly, unfortunately, I'm not interested in your condition. After I kill you, you will not have the chance to cause trouble again. Chendoru's face was ugly. He tried to make peace in a good tone, but was rejected by Su Chen. If he could not satisfy Su Chen, he would probably die here. Su Chen, I will use a secret to exchange for your spare my life. Chendoru's tone was full of pleading. Su Chen shook his head. I'm not interested in your secrets. When you broke Li Leo's arm, I said I would break all the bones in your body. Li Xiaolei's face was full of gratitude. Chendoru's expression suddenly became furious. Su Chen, you force me to do this. Chendoru roared, raised his palms high and crossed them, and then slammed them on his heart. Puff. Chendoru spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Chen looked puzzled. This Chendoru seemed to have a bad temper. He just didn't agree to him, but he started to hurt himself. At this time, Wang Xingzi shouted to remind him, Su Chen, be careful, this is the secret technique of Jindao sect. Use self-mutilation to stimulate the blood and qi in the meridians, so that the Zhuanjin will increase sharply in a short period of time. Su Chen looked at Chendoru. Sure enough, his entire skin was covered with a dark golden luster, which was almost the same color as his palm before. It looked like a humanoid weapon. Although Su Chen had a deep foundation in martial arts, he had little contact with the outside martial arts world. He originally wanted to study it, but Chendoru didn't give him a chance. Chendoru flashed, and his speed was twice as fast as before. He suddenly attacked Su Chen. Go to hell. However, Su Chen's speed was even faster than his. Su Chen raised his hand and several silver needles shot out. Chendoru felt his eyes blurred, and a sharp pain came from the key meridian nodes on his body. In an instant, the blood and qi that had just been condensed through self-mutilation quickly weakened, and his body returned to normal. What did you do to me? Chendoru was shocked and scared. Su Chen ignored him and rushed forward. His figure flashed, and he slapped and hit Chendoru. Chendoru, who was weak, couldn't resist at all. Bang, bang, bang. When Su Chen pulled away, Chendoru's body burst into a burst of bone-cracking sounds. Puff. Another mouthful of blood spurted out, and Chendoru collapsed to the ground, his face as pale as gold paper, and his breath was dying. Su Chen, you wait. You will definitely regret it. My junior brother will definitely avenge me. Chendoru said tremblingly, as if he was about to die at any time. Su Chen said calmly, the junior brother you are talking about is Zhou Wanqiu? If it is him, then don't count on it. I killed him just before coming here. Chendoru's eyes widened. What did you say? Puff. Chendoru spurted out another mouthful of blood, rolled his eyes, and fell to the ground and died. A generation of Zhuanjin master was angry to death. Chapter 119 He Zhenshin's savior. Chendoru died of suffocation. The father and son of the Li family breathed a sigh of relief. Li Xiaolei looked at Su Chen with gratitude. On the side, Li Chunren's expression was quite complicated. After this crisis, I'm afraid my father will respect Su Chen more. But he had no choice. Su Chen was too terrifying. Chendoru, who was so powerful, was like a chicken and a dog in front of Su Chen. And Wang Xingzi went to Su Chen. Mr. Su, I didn't expect that you are not only amazing in medical skills, but also so amazing in martial arts. Su Chen said calmly, old patriarch Wang, you are too kind, but I just happen to know where the flaw of this secret method of stimulating qi and blood is. Hearing Su Chen's modesty, Wang Xingzi's smile became even more. Being so humble and cautious, no wonder he has achieved dual achievements in medicine and martial arts at such a young age. At the beginning, he and his son and daughter-in-law almost made enemies with such a person, which was really wrong. Fortunately, the contradictions between the Wang family and Su Chen were resolved, otherwise he would probably regret it now. Wang Xingzi looked at Su Chen with more and more satisfaction. He had decided that after his granddaughter Wang Yuting's injury healed, he would ask her to ask Su Chen out on the pretext of thanking her lifesaver. At the same time, he asked Kinyao Iao to work harder. The success rate would surely increase if the two four-flowers of Bincheng, granddaughter and granddaughter-in-law, worked together. He just didn't believe that Su Chen would not be tempted by one of them. Wang Xingzi was still imagining a bright future when Li Xiaolei dragged his injured arm towards Su Chen. Mr. Su, thank you for arriving in time. If you hadn't helped, I'm afraid my Li family would have suffered a great disaster. This time, my Li family owes you another big favor. Li Xiaolei bowed deeply to Su Chen. Li Chunren, who was supporting Li Xiaolei, could only bow to Su Chen with his father to express his gratitude, even if he had any opinions about Su Chen in his heart. Su Chen could also sense Li Chunren's attitude. However, he didn't care. After all, Li Xiaolei was the head of the Li family, and he was giving Li Xiaolei face. In addition, Su Chen also knew that Li Chunren was not very smart, so he was too lazy to argue with him. Su Chen stepped forward and helped Li Xiaolei up. Mr. Li, you are embarrassing me by saying that. When the Zhao family and the Zhao family were blocking each other, you stood on the side of the Zhao family at the first time. This is what I should do, Su Chen said politely. This attitude of not taking credit for yourself made Li Xiaolei and Wang Xingzhu nod secretly. Mr. Li, Mr. Wang, I will treat you two first, Su Chen said. Both of them knew Su Chen's medical skills, so they were not polite. A quarter of an hour later, Su Chen put away the silver needle and stood up. Mr. Li, Mr. Wang, your injuries have basically been resolved, and you only need to rest for a while. Mr. Wang, please don't fight with others in the near future, and Mr. Li, please try not to carry heavy objects, Su Chen instructed. The two nodded repeatedly. Mr. Su, Mr. Wang, I have asked someone to prepare a banquet, and I hope you two will do me a favor, Li Xiaolei said. Wang Xingzhu naturally had no objection. Su Chen thought about it. Zhao Changling was already disabled, and his brother Zhao Changshan was killed by him. Even Zhao Changshan's senior brother Chendoru died in his hands. The Zhao family should not be in any danger in the short term. Thinking of this, Su Chen sent a message to Zhou Wanqiu. Zhou Wanqiu replied quickly. Okay. Su Chen saw this reply and his mouth curled up slightly. It seems that this elder sister's attitude towards him seems to have become better. Otherwise, the message she replied would definitely be you love it, I hope you never come back. Then, Li Xiaolei led Su Chen and Wang Xingzhu to the large dining room of the Li family villa. In the huge restaurant, a large dining table that can accommodate more than 20 people is filled with various delicacies. Su Chen was asked to sit at the main seat. He didn't know so much dining etiquette, so he didn't give way and sat down directly. Li Xiaolei, Wang Xingzhu and others were not picky, but appreciated Su Chen's straightforwardness. Before the banquet, several people chatted. I didn't expect that Chendoru has made such great progress in the past 10 years. If Mr. Su hadn't arrived in time, I'm afraid I would have screwed the Li family, Wang Xingzhu said with a sigh. Li Xiaolei waved his hands again and again. Old Patriarch Wang, please don't say that. It's a great favor for you to come to help my Li family. It's because we don't have enough intelligence information and haven't found out the situation of Chendoru's cultivation. Li Xiaolei's emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills are much better than his son Li Chunren. After saying this, Wang Xingzhu's face also looked much better. Alas. Wang Xingzhu sighed. Master Li, I know you are trying to comfort me. Although Chendoru's words are harsh, they are true. In the past 10 years in Bincheng, I have indeed been working behind closed doors and looking at the world from a narrow perspective. At this point, Wang Xingzhu turned his head and looked at Su Chen. Mr. Su, if you go to the provincial capital or other big places in the future, you must be careful. The martial arts practitioners outside are different from those in Bincheng. The skills they practice are more powerful, their combat experience is richer, and they have more unexpected and strange methods. If you estimate them, based on the martial arts practitioners in Bincheng, you may suffer a great loss. Wang Xingzhu warned seriously. In his opinion, Su Chen is now either his grandson-in-law or his grandson-in-law, so he should be reminded, as if he were his own man. Su Chen didn't know what Wang Xingzhu was thinking, but he still thanked him politely. Thank you, Mr. Wang, for your advice. That's right. Wang Xingzhu suddenly thought of something. Zhao Changshan and Chendoru are both from the Jindao sect, and their master is Old Man Jinguang. Old Man Jinguang became a master of Zhuanjin decades ago, and now he has probably already broken through this realm. If you kill his two disciples, he probably won't let it go. Su Chen frowned slightly. He didn't know what kind of cultivation this old man Jinguang had. But since he could become Chendoru's master, it means that he is definitely not an ordinary Zhuanjin. Su Chen was not sure if he could definitely be this person's opponent. However, he was not worried. It would not be easy for old man Jinguang to kill him. At the same time, on the other side, He Zenshin looked pale, standing respectfully outside the door of his villa, anxiously waiting for someone. He felt that the burning pain in his body was getting stronger and stronger. The poison Su Chen gave him left him no more time to wait. Soon, a stretched Lincoln drove up and slowly stopped at the door. He Zenshin showed a trace of ecstasy on his face. The person he was waiting for had arrived. The car door opened, and a thin young man stepped out. He was dressed in a suit and tie, his hair was combed meticulously, and he wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses on his nose, which gave him a rather gentle and refined feeling. The other door opened, and an old man in a black training suit stepped out of the car and followed the young man. A faint smell of decay wafted from him. The old man glanced around, as if to confirm whether there was any threat. Suddenly, his nose twitched, and he looked at He Zenshin with some surprise. In an instant, He Zenshin trembled violently, as if he was stared at by a poisonous snake. "Young Master Ong, welcome to Bincheng," He Zenshin hurriedly said respectfully. The young man in front of him was Rang Ruiz, the top young master in the provincial capital. Rang Ruiz glanced at He Zenshin indifferently and uttered 4 words. "Go in and talk." After that, Rang Ruiz stepped into He Zenshin's villa, as if he was returning to his own home. He Zenshin, on the other hand, was like a pug, following behind with his head down. Chapter 120 Poisoned to Death. "Mr. Ong, you must save me." He Zenshin knelt down directly after entering the villa hall. He looked at Rang Ruiz in front of him with an anxious look on his face. Rang Ruiz had an indifferent expression. He leaned on the sofa and said calmly, "Explain all the processes to me clearly. I require every detail." He Zenshin knelt on the ground and said quickly, "Young Master Ong, you asked me to suppress Zhao group in Bincheng and create opportunities for you to be a hero and save the beauty, so I did it conscientiously. First, I wanted to snatch the bid for the new factory of Qin family Cheyenne Heo group from the Zhao family, but after the bid for Cheyenne Heo group failed, I planned to take over the Bincheng Entertainment City Food Center project. I wanted to use this project to unify the food and catering industry in Bincheng and use the power to force the Zhao family, but later, in the end, not only my son and brother died at the hands of Su Chen, but I was also fed poison by him. He threatened me that if I didn't transfer all shares of his catering group to the Zhao family for free today, I would definitely die. Young Master Ong, I didn't dare to be lazy at all. Please save me." He Zenshin burst into tears. At this time, the black-robed old man sitting next to Rang Ruiz said lightly, "So you were fed a poison pill. No wonder I smelled the smell of poison on you." Hearing the words of the black-robed old man, He Zenshin's eyes suddenly showed joy. "Young Master Ong, is this old gentleman the detoxification expert you brought?" He Zenshin asked expectantly. Rang Ruiz nodded. "This is Jiang Grong, a master of Zhuanjin who is good at poison skills. Even if there are 8 or 10 ordinary Zhuanjin masters together, they will be easily poisoned by him. This time I brought him here, in addition to protecting me, is to solve the poison in your body. Thank you, young Master Ong. Thank you for your trouble, Mr. Jiang." He Zenshin hurriedly thanked. Jiang Qingrong sat on the sofa with a proud face. "Haha, I have been studying poison skills for decades, and ordinary poisons can be used as food. In a small place like Bincheng, what kind of skilled poison master can there be? The poison you are poisoned with is probably just some ordinary poison." Jiang Qingrong's face was full of disdain. He Zenshin was overjoyed. He turned around and kowtowed to Jiang Qingrong. "Please save my life, Jiang. I will do my best for you in the future." He Zenshin begged again and again. At the beginning, he did not take Su Chen's poison pill seriously. Since Su Chen changed the deadline for him to one day, he could clearly feel the burning in his body and the loss of vitality. The danger of death was imminent, which made him not care about his face. However, even if He Zenshin kowtowed frantically, Jiang Qingrong did not move. Rang Ruiz pursed his lips to smile, and he turned to look at Jiang Qingrong. "Jiang, please help He Zenshin solve this poison." Jiang Qingrong nodded. He first checked He Zenshin's eyes and tongue, then grabbed He Zenshin's wrist, closed his eyes, and felt his pulse. Gradually, the confident smile on Jiang Qingrong's face slowly disappeared. His brows wrinkled slightly. Seeing the change in Jiang Qingrong's expression, He Zenshin's heart also lifted. Now, Jiang Qingrong is his only hope. If he has no way, he will die. Mr. Jiang, how is it? Do you have a way to cure the poison in my body? He Zenshin asked with a trembling voice. Jiang Qingrong slowly opened his eyes and said, I underestimated the heroes in the world. The guy who poisoned you is actually quite capable. The poison pill he fed you is a mixture of various poisonous herbs and poisons. So to detoxify, you must know what each poisonous herb and poison is. In addition, you must understand their proportions, and then make a mixed antidote. If there is something wrong, it may trigger the toxicity. At that time, the poisoned person will definitely die. Hearing this, He Zenshin's face turned black. Yes, that little beast said the same thing. Mr. Jiang, since you know the composition of the bastard's poison, can you detoxify me? However, Jiang Qingrong slowly shook his head. That's not the case. Now, although I know that the poison in your body is mixed, I can also guess some of the poisons contained in it. However, I can't determine all the poison ingredients. If I have enough time, I can slowly check and deduce all the poisons, but unfortunately we don't have enough time. Moreover, even if I can determine all the poison ingredients now, there is no way to gather all the antidote herbs in a short time. He Zenshin's face turned pale as paper in an instant. No. Jiang Leo, please, think of a way to save me. He Zenshin kowtowed to Jiang Qingrong frantically. Jiang Qingrong gently stretched out his hand, and a dry hand like a chicken claw, with terrifying black spots, stretched out from under the black robe, and held He Zenshin. He Zenshin was frightened by Jiang Qingrong's hand, but he still forced himself to suppress his fear. Don't worry, although I don't have time to analyze the poison ingredients now, there is more than one way to detoxify. Jiang Qingrong said in a dry voice. Although his voice was dry and hoarse, it sounded like the sound of nature in He Zenshin's ears. He stared at Jiang Qingrong with wide eyes, his face full of joy. Mr. Jiang, I knew you would have a way. Jiang Qingrong was very satisfied with He Zenshin's reaction. The next second, he reached into his wide robe and took out a colorful object. He Zenshin leaned forward to see what it was. Ah! He exclaimed and was almost frightened to fall down. It was because Jiang Qingrong was holding a colorful snake. The snake was not big, the thickness of a thumb, and more than 1 meter long. But its triangular head and colorful colors on its body made it clear at a glance that it was a highly poisonous snake. In particular, the snake also had strange patterns on its body, like rings on the snake. He Zenshin took a quick look and saw that there were about 5 garlands, which was very scary. He quietly leaned back and distanced himself from the snake. Rang Rui's, who was standing next to him, also showed a trace of disgust on his face and moved slightly to the side. Haha, you don't have to be afraid. This 5-ring snake was carefully raised by me. Now it is the precious snake that can detoxify your body. Jiang Qingrong introduced. Hearing this, He Zenshin's face was full of surprise. He didn't care about being afraid and quickly knelt and crawled to Jiang Qingrong's side. Mr. Jiang, you are not kidding, right? Can this snake detoxify my poison? He Zenshin looked expectant. Jiang Qingrong's mouth curled up. This 5-ring snake was carefully raised by me using the secret technique of poison. Not only is it highly poisonous, but it also feeds on poison. In the past 10 years, I have fed it countless poisons and forcibly raised it from 1 ring to 5 rings. No matter what poison you are poisoned with, as long as he is here, he can suck it out directly for you. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether the poison components in your body are analyzed or not. Hearing this, He Zenshin was ecstatic. Precious snake. Mr. Jiang, your 5-ring snake is definitely a treasure in the world. On the side, Rang Rui's was also quite shocked. Although he was not interested in Jiang Qingrong's poison skills, and even felt a little fear and disgust, he also knew the value of this 5-ring snake. Jiang Qingrong showed a smug look on his face. Reach out your hand, I'll make a bloody wound on your hand, and let my precious 5-ring snake suck out the poison for you. He Zenshin immediately put his hand over without caring about being afraid. Jiang Qingrong stretched out his chicken claw-like hand, and the sharpened long nails on his little finger directly cut He Zenshin's wrist. Suddenly, blood slowly flowed out. The 5-ring snake in Jiang Qingrong's hand seemed to smell some delicious food and shook uneasily. Little baby, don't be anxious. I'll let you have a big meal now. Jiang Qingrong comforted the 5-ring snake and then put it on He Zhenshen's wrist. He Zhenshen closed his eyes, turned his head to the side, and forced himself to endure the slippery and cold touch on his hand. The colorful 5-ring snake quickly coiled around He Zhenshen's forearm, aimed its mouth at He Zhenshen's wound, and sucked. He Zhenshen only felt the blood flow accelerated. At the same time, the burning sensation in the body gradually subsided. This 5-ring snake is really useful. He Zhenshen was overjoyed. As long as the 5-ring snake continues to suck, perhaps it won't be long before all the poison in his blood will be sucked out. However, at this moment, He Zhenshen felt that the 5-ring snake wrapped around his arm suddenly loosened and then quickly slid off his forearm. Snap! The 5-ring snake fell to the ground. It twitched violently and stopped moving in an instant. Everyone was stunned. Jiang Qingrong rushed forward and picked up the 5-ring snake to check it. Mr. Jiang, how is your 5-ring snake? He Zhenshen looked concerned, as this snake was related to his life or death. The next moment, Jiang Qingrong raised his head, his eyes full of red bloodshot. Asshole, my 5-ring snake was poisoned to death. Chapter 121 Rang Ruiz arrives. The lobby of the He family villa. The atmosphere was awkward for a while. The 5-ring snake that Jiang Qingrong praised to the sky was actually poisoned to death by the toxin in He Zhenshen's blood. This made He Zhenshen even more frightened. The 5-ring snake that feeds on poison can't resist this terrible poison, so he will definitely die. However, He Zhenshen didn't dare to mention it at all, because Jiang Qingrong was already furious at this time. Jiang Qingrong half squatted on the ground, holding the colorful 5-ring snake in his hands, his eyes full of red bloodshot. Jiang Qingrong has been feeding this 5-ring snake for many years. For him who is studying poison skills, this 5-ring snake is like his disciple, or even a child. Originally, he thought that coming to a small place like Bincheng was like strolling around. But he didn't expect that his beloved 5-ring snake would die here. He Zhenshen hesitated for a long time and finally asked, Mr. Jiang, is your 5-ring snake okay? He Zhenshen still had a glimmer of hope in his heart, hoping that Jiang Qingrong could cure the 5-ring snake and suck out all the poison in his body. However, after Jiang Qingrong heard He Zhenshen's voice, he looked over fiercely. Bang! Jiang Qingrong raised his foot directly, and He Zhenshen flew backwards like a cannonball, rolling on the ground for many circles before stopping. Are you okay? I want to be okay too. You bastard. Jiang Qingrong gritted his teeth and looked at He Zhenshen viciously. He Zhenshen had blood on the corner of his mouth and felt wronged. It was obviously your own 5-ring snake. That was not good. How could you scold me? Jiang Qingrong was still furious, and he said viciously, because of you, a waste, my precious 5-ring snake got into trouble. I wish I could kill you now. Hearing this, He Zhenshen rolled and crawled to his knees in front of Rang Ruiz. Mr. Rang, please save me. I don't want to kill Mr. Jiang's 5-ring snake. He Zhenshen hugged Rang Ruiz's legs and begged. He could see that Jiang Qingrong was a cruel person. He would definitely do such a thing as killing someone for a snake. Rang Ruiz slowly said, Mr. Jiang, I understand your feelings, but He Zhenshen cannot be blamed for this. When we go back to the provincial capital, I will let the family give you some compensation. Hearing that Rang Ruiz had spoken, Jiang Qingrong could only glare at He Zhenshen fiercely and let it go. He Zhenshen breathed a sigh of relief. He kowtowed to Rang Ruiz repeatedly. Thank you, Mr. Rang. Thank you, Mr. Rang. Then, He Zhenshen looked at Rang Ruiz anxiously. Mr. Rang, what should I do with the poison in my body? Rang Ruiz looked at Jiang Qingrong. After all, he was an expert in poison. Jiang Qingrong was still angry. Humph. What can I do? I don't even have my 5-ring snake anymore. You will definitely die. He Zhenshen's face turned pale in an instant, and he burst into tears and said, Mr. Rang, please find a way to save me. I don't want to die. Rang Ruiz frowned slightly, and after a while, he waved his hand and said, don't worry, there is another way to save you. Hearing this, He Zhenshen and Jiang Qingrong looked at Rang Ruiz together. It seemed that he couldn't believe that even Jiang Qingrong, the master of poison, couldn't solve it. So how could he, a young master from a rich family, solve it? What method? Young Master Rang, tell me quickly. He Zhenshen looked anxious. Rang Rui's didn't keep him in suspense, but got straight to the point. The method I'm talking about is very simple. Just find the person who poisoned you and force him to take out the antidote. Hearing this, He Zenshin and Jiang Rang suddenly understood. Yes. As long as we find that bastard Su Chen, we will definitely get the antidote. He Zenshin said excitedly. On the side, Jiang Rang also gritted his teeth and said, yes. We must find that kid. I want to kill him and avenge my precious 5-ring snake. Rang Rui's and Jiang Rang were about to stand up immediately. He Zenshin hurriedly reminded, young Master Rong, old Master Jiang, that Su Chen is not simple. Zhou Wanqiu, the richest man in Bincheng, once sent Master Shen Zhongyuan of Zhuanjin to kill him, but he died in his hands. We must be fully prepared. Rang Rui's didn't say anything, but looked at Jiang Rang on the side. Jiang Rang said coldly, Shen Zhongyuan is just a waste who has just entered the Zhuanjin realm. I can kill more than a dozen of this kind of trash by myself. Seeing the confident Jiang Rang, Rang Rui's and He Zenshin were relieved immediately. The three of them didn't say anything more and just got up and went out. The extended Lincoln started slowly and headed for the Zhao family villa. He Zenshin was in high spirits. He had already begun to imagine the miserable appearance of Su Chen kneeling in front of him. While He Zenshin was excited, another person was full of despair. It was none other than Zhou Wanqiu, the richest man in Bincheng. At this moment, Zhou Wanqiu was lying on the hospital bed at home, anxiously calling Zhou Wanqiu again and again. As a result, no one responded. Zhou Wanqiu's heart sank to the bottom of the valley. Soon, a bodyguard in black trotted in. Zhou Wanqiu asked hurriedly, how is it? Have you heard about my brother? The black-clad bodyguard hesitated, reporting to the master, our hospital people saw Mr. Zhou escape through the window with injuries, and Su Chen was chasing closely behind. We lost him later, and tried to contact Mr. Zhou, but no one answered. I guess Mr. Zhou has met with an accident. After the black-clad bodyguard finished speaking, he lowered his head. Impossible. My brother can't be in trouble. Get out. Zhou Wanqiu roared loudly, grabbed the table lamp and pillow next to him, and threw them directly at the black-clad bodyguard. The black-clad bodyguard hurriedly left the room. Clang. He Zenshin smashed and threw everything he could touch in the room. He stopped until he had nothing in his hand. Hoo-hoo. Zhou Wanqiu was panting, his eyes red. He also knew in his heart that Zhou Wanqiu was probably dead. However, he found it difficult to accept this reality. In a sense, Zhou Wanqiu, the master of Zhuanjin, is the real guardian of the Zhou family. Once Zhou Wanqiu dies, Zhou Wanqiu, the so-called richest man in Bincheng, will not be a big threat to others. The four masters of sword, fist, and foot are dead. My son Shiji is dead. The master of Zhuanjin Shen Zhongyuan is dead, and my brother is also dead. Zhou Wanqiu couldn't understand why the Zhou family, which was once in its heyday, suddenly came to this point. Plop, teardrops slid down Zhou Wanqiu's face. Zhou Wanqiu, a tyrant who has been dominating Bincheng for many years, cried. It's all Su Chen, the bastard. Zhou Wanqiu gritted his teeth. Just wait. If my brother can't kill you, my brother's senior brother Chendoru will kill you. If Chendoru can't kill you, Jindao Zong and Jinguang Liao Ren will definitely kill you. And the master of Iron Fist Feng Dao, the invincible Yang Wudi of the Divine Fist, will also kill you. I will watch you die with my own eyes. Zhou Wanqiu gritted his teeth and looked out the window with scholar eyes. Li's Villa, luxurious restaurant. Before the banquet, Su Chen suddenly sneezed twice. Who scolded me? Could it be Zhou Wanqiu? Su Chen thought secretly. On the side, Wang Xingzu said with a smile, Mr. Su, are you feeling unwell? Su Chen shook his head. No, it's just that my nose was a little itchy just now. At this time, Li Xianlei suddenly said, by the way, I remembered an interesting thing. Since Chendoru notified my Li family yesterday, I asked my men to keep an eye on the Bincheng expressway station, observe the luxury cars coming from the provincial capital, and then find someone to follow them, but they almost followed the wrong one. What happened? Wang Xingzu was quite interested. Li Xiaolei said, there are not many luxury cars coming from the provincial capital today. If we only count the cars with older martial artists, there are only 2. One of them is an alpha, and sitting in it are Zhou Wanqiu and Chen Doru, and the other is a stretched Lincoln, and the person sitting in it seems to be Rang Ruiz, the son of the Rang family in the provincial capital. My men didn't understand the situation and almost followed Rang Ruiz. Fortunately, I discovered it in time and stopped them, otherwise my Li family would be in trouble. Su Chen was a little puzzled. Is this son of the Rang family very powerful? Li Xiaolei explained. More than powerful. Mr. Su, don't think that our Li family is a first-class family in Bincheng, but in front of the Rang family, a wealthy family in the provincial capital, it is not worth mentioning at all. Yes. Wang Xingzu also echoed. Indeed. Before my granddaughter Yuting got sick, she went to college in the provincial capital. She mentioned Rang Ruiz to me. The son of the richest man in the next city once offended Rang Ruiz, and was beaten to death by him. Not only did the richest man not dare to seek revenge, but he even went to pay compensation and apologize. Su Chen frowned slightly. The Rang family and Rang Ruiz seemed to be acting a little too overbearing. I just don't know what Rang Ruiz is doing in a small place like Bincheng. Could it be that someone is blind and offended this top young master again? Li Xiaolei sighed. At this time, Wang Xingzu suddenly glanced at Su Chen and asked, by the way, Mr. Su, you are living in Zhao's house now, right? Su Chen nodded. My grandfather is good friends with old man Zhou Wanqiu, so I'm temporarily living in Zhao's house now. Wang Xingzu said, I heard from my granddaughter Yuting that when Zhou Wanqiu from the Zhou family was in college in the provincial capital, Rang Ruiz once pursued her, but was rejected by Zhou Wanqiu. Rang Ruiz also threatened that he would definitely win Zhou Wanqiu. I just don't know if his visit to Bincheng this time has anything to do with Zhou Wanqiu. Hearing this, Su Chen's eyes turned cold. Ding-ling-ling. Su Chen's cell phone rang suddenly. He looked down and saw that it was a call from Chen Zhanggai. Su Chen quickly answered it. Chen Zhanggai's anxious voice came from the other side. Mr. Su, it's not good. A stretched Lincoln with a provincial license plate has arrived at the Zhou family villa. Chapter 122 Domineering Rang Ruiz. Su Chen's face darkened. Before, Yao Zhenfeng called him and told him that Zhou Changshan and his senior brother Chen Doru had left the provincial capital for Bincheng. Su Chen was afraid that he could not take care of everything, so he entrusted Chen Zhangai to help him keep an eye on a few places. As a result, the crisis of the Zhou family and Zhou Changshan was resolved, but Chen Zhanggai's men found that Rang Ruiz went to the Zhou family. This was also an unexpected gain. However, thinking of the old things that Wang Lao just said, Su Chen felt that Rang Ruiz's visit to the Zhou family this time was probably not a good thing. Su Chen hurriedly said, Mr. Chen, please help me keep an eye on it. However, let the brothers try not to expose themselves. I think there must be masters among the people who come this time. After hanging up the phone, Su Chen stood up directly. Mr. Li, Mr. Wang, I have something urgent and need to leave immediately. Please forgive my rudeness this time. I will apologize to the 2 elders next time. After Su Chen finished speaking, he turned around and left. Li Xiaolei and Wang Xingzu were stunned. They wanted to ask what happened, but before they could open their mouths, Su Chen's figure disappeared. You left just after receiving a call. Is there something urgent? Wang Xingzu scratched his head. Li Xiaolei thought for a while and said, Master Wang, do you think it has something to do with Rang Ruiz? Wang Xingzu's face changed. If Rang Ruiz came to Bincheng this time for Zhou Wanqiu, he might have a conflict with Su Chen. At that time, I hope Mr. Su will not be impulsive. Wang Xingzu murmured. Indeed. Li Xiaolei nodded. He said seriously, Rang Ruiz had better not go too far, otherwise, according to Mr. Su's personality and temper, he really won't give him any face. At that time, there might be a big conflict between the two. Li Xiaolei prayed in his heart, hoping that this would not happen. After all, the other party is the top family in the provincial capital, the Rang family. If Su Chen is completely offended, even if he is on good terms with the Yao family in the provincial capital, it will be difficult to get away unscathed. But for this kind of thing, Li Xiaolei has no way except praying. He, the former richest man in Bincheng, has no right to speak in front of the Ran family in the provincial capital. After Su Chen walked out of the Li family villa, he did not choose to take a taxi, but ran at full speed towards the Zhou family villa. He was a little anxious in his heart, hoping that nothing would happen to the Zhou family. At this time, Zhou family villa. In the hall, Zhou Wanqiu was talking to his grandfather and mother. In order not to worry them, Zhou Changshan went to the hospital to attack his father and himself, but he had not yet told them. Now that Zhou Changshan is dead and the threat to the Zhou family has been completely resolved, Zhou Wanqiu came to report to his family after settling Zhou Pingjiang. Just like that, Su Chen went to catch up with Zhou Changshan again and killed him. Now, the Zhou family is finished, and it should no longer be a threat to our Zhou family in the future. Zhou Wanqiu introduced as calmly as possible. However, Zhou Girang was still scared and burst into tears. Wanqiu, is your father okay? That bastard Zhou Changshan was so cruel. Are you okay? Zhou Girang is a traditional woman, and she can't stand hearing this the most. Zhou Wanqiu hurriedly comforted her. Mom, don't worry. Didn't I say that Su Chen came just in time and beat Zhou Changshan so badly that he fled? Later, he treated my dad's injuries before chasing Zhou Changshan. Are you still worried about Su Chen's medical skills? Do you think I look injured now? My dad is the same. He just needs to rest for a while. In order to comfort Zhou Girang, Zhou Wanqiu actually began to praise Su Chen. If Su Chen were here, he would probably be very surprised. In Zhou Girang's eyes, Su Chen's reliability is still very high. Yeah. I feel relieved that Zhou Chen will treat you. I feel more at ease with his work. Zhou Girang wiped her tears and said. Zhou Wanqiu rolled her eyes secretly. What do you mean you feel at ease with Su Chen's work, but you don't feel at ease with me? Partiality. If it were any other time, Zhou Wanqiu might have retorted. But now that her mother was frightened, she could only nod silently. At this time, Zhou Rongchang suddenly asked, Wanqiu, where is Su Chen now? Zhou Girang also came back to her senses and asked quickly, yes. Where is Zhou Chen now? Is he not injured? Seeing the concern of grandpa and mother for Su Chen, Zhou Wanqiu felt a flash of jealousy. However, she still pouted and explained, he is fine. He is so good at fighting, what can happen? But he said he met a friend and wanted to have a meal with his friend. Zhou Rongchang and Zhou Girang were relieved. Zhou Girang looked at Zhou Wanqiu and persuaded, Zhou Qiu, look, Zhou Chen has helped our family several times. He saved your father's life 3 times. In the future, you should be nicer to him. Zhou Wanqiu wanted to refute, but she couldn't find any excuse, so she could only lower her head and said, okay, Mom, I know. On the side, Zhou Rongchang also said, you should have understood this long ago. Su Chen is your husband. If you don't treat him better, why should he be nice to you? Zhou Wanqiu glanced at her grandfather and mother, feeling helpless. She wanted to say that the marriage certificate was fake and Su Chen was not her husband at all. But she was afraid that, if she said this, her grandfather would scold her to death. Therefore, she could only lower her head and say HMM. Zhou Rongchang was about to give a few more instructions, but at this moment, ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling. Suddenly, Zhou Wanqiu's cell phone rang. Seeing the name displayed on the phone screen, Zhou Wanqiu trembled violently. For her, this was a name like a nightmare. Rang Rui's. On the side, Zhou Rongchang and Zhou Girang also noticed that Zhou Wanqiu was different and were about to ask. As a result, Zhou Wanqiu raised her finger at the two of them and made a hush gesture. The two did not know what was going on, so they could only wait silently. Zhou Wanqiu took a deep breath and answered the phone. A frivolous voice came from the other side of the phone. Hey, little beauty, I thought you would not answer my call. Unexpectedly, you answered so soon. Did you miss me? Rang Ruiz said frivolously. Zhou Wanqiu had a hint of annoyance on her face, but she didn't dare to confront him directly. She knew very well in her heart how terrifying the Rang family in the provincial capital was. She chose to answer the call because she knew that if she didn't answer it, Rang Ruiz, the bastard, would not let it go. However, Zhou Wanqiu didn't give him a good look. Rang Ruiz, if you have something to say, just say it. Zhou Rongchang and Zhou Girang heard this name and immediately understood who was calling. The two also knew about Rang Rui's past and immediately looked at Zhou Wanqiu with some worry. Ha ha ha. Rang Ruiz laughed. Seeing Zhou Wanqiu lose his temper at him, he was not angry, but very proud. I don't have anything else to do. I'm just tired of playing with the girls in the provincial capital, and suddenly thought of you. I want to ask you what you think. When do you plan to go back to the provincial capital with me and be my lover? You have to know that my patience is very limited. Rang Ruiz said with a smile. Hearing this, Zhou Wanqiu's face changed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 3 Things. Your patience has nothing to do with me. I told you, I don't like your type. Please don't bother me, thank you. Zhou Wanqiu said with a sullen face. Haha. Rang Rui's voice turned cold. I like you. You have no right to refuse. I'm just giving you a notice. Since you don't want it, when I give you the face, don't blame me for playing hard to get. Anyway, I don't care. It's just a different experience. Little baby, wait for me. I'll find you right away. After saying that, Rang Ruiz hung up the phone. Beep. The busy tone came, and Zhou Wanqiu's face was ugly. She has been hiding for so long, but the other party still refuses to let her go. On the side, Zhou Rongchang frowned and asked, Wanqiu, what's wrong? Is it Rang Rui's playboy? What does he want to do? Zhou Wanqiu said in a trembling voice. He said that he would come to Bincheng, come to our house, and take me away by force. Hearing this, Zhou Rongchang and Zhao Gireng's faces suddenly changed. Why? Zhao Gireng was anxious. Wanqiu doesn't like him. Why is he so shameless? Besides, Wanqiu has already married Su Chen, so it's useless for him to come. Zhou Rongchang frowned and said, a playboy like Rang Ruiz, who has the support of the Rang family in the provincial capital, does things recklessly and doesn't care about those things. I think it's better to let Wanqiu go out and hide first. Zhou Wanqiu's face was full of humiliation, but she also knew in her heart that this was the only way now. Otherwise, when Rang Ruiz came, he really dared to kidnap her by force. My daughter, Mom will help you pack your things. You go and change your clothes. Let's go now. Zhao Gireng also understood the seriousness of the situation and said quickly. The two were about to go upstairs to get their luggage. At this time, boom, bang, a loud noise came from the gate. Zhou Rongchang, Zhou Wanqiu, and Zhao Gireng hurriedly got up and looked outside. They saw that the gate of the villa had been knocked down. A stretched Lincoln rushed in. The extended Lincoln rushed to the front of the villa before slowly stopping. The black-clad bodyguard on the driver's seat got out of the car and respectfully opened the back door. Rang Ruiz walked out with a wicked smile on his face. He walked slowly to the door of the villa's lobby. He Zenshin and Jiang Qingrang also got out of the car and followed Rang Ruiz. Rang Ruiz stopped when he walked in front of Zhou Wanqiu and her grandson, who all looked grim. Little beauty, didn't you expect that I would appear in front of you so soon? You've become more and more beautiful after not seeing you for so long. I regret not coming to see you earlier. Rang Ruiz's face was full of smiles. He stretched out his hand to hook Zhou Wanqiu's chin. Zhou Wanqiu was startled and quickly stepped back to avoid it. Rang Ruiz didn't care, but laughed. Zhou Wanqiu was so angry that her eyes were blazing, and Zhou Rongchang and Zhao Gireng were also full of anger. Mr. Rong, please respect yourself. Just now, I have already told you on the phone that you are not my type. Please stop pestering me, okay? Zhou Wanqiu said in a hard voice. Rang Ruiz slowly put away the smile on his face. I also told you that you have no choice. He continued. Today, I came to Bincheng in person for 3 things. The first thing is to take you away and make you my woman. Now I give you 10 minutes. Pack up your things and follow me. Don't even think about it. Zhou Wanqiu's face was full of resistance. Zhou Rongchang coughed, stared at Rang Ruiz and said, Mr. Rong, I'm Wanqiu's grandfather. I tell you the truth, Wanqiu is already married. Rang Ruiz's face turned cold. Then, He sneered at Zhou Wanqiu. Married? That's not a big problem. I can kill her husband first, and then take her away. Zhou Wanqiu and others were stunned. This Rang Ruiz is so cruel. It can be said that he has no humanity. Rang Ruiz saw the expressions of the Zhou family, and the smile on his face became even bigger. The second thing is to let you prepare the shares of Zhao's catering group, and transfer them all to his Zenshin for free. This is impossible. Zhou Wanqiu immediately retorted, why do you ask us to do this? Rang Ruiz's expression was indifferent, and he said, what I said was not a discussion with you, but an order. Zhou Wanqiu's pretty face was tense, and her fists were clenched, trying to suppress her anger. Rang Ruiz continued, and the third thing is to hand over that Su Chen. I hate him, so he must die. No. Zhou Wanqiu objected at the first time, you can't kill Su Chen. He gritted his teeth and said, young Master Rong, we can give all the Zhou family shares to the Rang family in the provincial capital for free. I just hope that young Master Rang will show mercy and let Wanqiu and Su Chen go. Zhou Wanqiu bowed slightly and begged humbly. In his opinion, the Rang family in the provincial capital is too powerful, and now they are eyeing the Zhou family. If he can use his family property in exchange for the safety of Zhou Wanqiu and Su Chen, it is worth it. However, Rang Ruiz didn't think so. Bang! Rang Ruiz raised his hand and slapped Zhou Wanqiu hard on the face. Zhou Wanqiu staggered and almost fell to the ground. Grandpa. Dad. Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Girang hurried forward and helped Zhou Wanqiu up. Rang Ruiz, you are really too much. Zhou Wanqiu was full of anger. Rang Ruiz sneered, I have already said that I'm not discussing with you, but giving orders. This old man doesn't understand, so I will teach him how to understand me. Zhou Wanqiu gritted his teeth in anger, but he could do nothing. Little darling, do you understand my 3 orders? If you understand, do it. Rang Ruiz laughed. Zhou Wanqiu stared at Rang Ruiz and said, your 3 orders are bullshit to me. I won't agree to any of them. Really? Rang Ruiz was not angry either. The next second, he said directly to Jiang Grong, Master Jiang, serve some hard dishes to the little beauty's grandfather, so that she will learn not to refute me easily. Jiang Grong sneered, and then his figure flashed. Before Zhou Wanqiu could react, Zhou Wanqiu was already in Jiang Grong's hands. Let my grandfather go. Zhou Wanqiu panicked. On the side, Zhao Girang also rushed forward anxiously, trying to snatch Zhou Wanqiu back. But Rang Ruiz's bodyguard driver directly opened his arms and blocked the 2 of them. Watch it. Jiang Grong sneered. He pinched Zhou Wanqiu's neck with one hand, and colorful poisonous insects crawled out of his sleeves. There were poisonous snakes, spiders, centipedes. Ah! Zhou Wanqiu screamed in fear. Even Rang Ruiz quietly stepped back. The poisonous insects crawled out along Jiang Grong's sleeves, landed on Zhou Wanqiu, and suddenly opened their mouths and bit down, sucking blood and marrow. Ugh! Zhou Wanqiu cried out in pain, while gritting his teeth. Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Girang were so scared that they burst into tears. Don't worry, this is just a meal for my little darlings. I have other ways to serve this old man. Jiang Grong sneered. He slowly put away the full poisonous insects. Then, his dry palms, which looked like chicken claws, emitted wisps of black mist and spread towards Zhou Wanqiu's body. Sizzle. A corrosion sound came. Ah! Zhou Wanqiu screamed. He seemed to be in great pain. His whole face was twisted into a piece, and beads of sweat as big as soybeans rolled down his forehead. The skin on his body gradually turned grey, and terrifying black spots appeared on it. Seeing this weird scene, Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Girang were so scared that they screamed. Let my grandfather go. You beast. This is an old man. Zhou Wanqiu and her daughter were stopped by the black-clad bodyguards, and they could only watch Zhou Wanqiu suffer with tears in their eyes. Looking at the expressions of the 2, Rang Ruiz laughed. Zhou Wanqiu, you keep pretending to be noble. This young master, I still want you to open your legs and invite me in. Rang Ruiz showed a perverted smile. Hurry up and beg me. If it's too late, this old man may really be hopeless. Zhou Wanqiu's beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and she bit her lips tightly. Looking at the suffering Zhou Wanqiu, she finally couldn't bear it anymore, and was about to agree to Rang Ruiz. At this moment, a roar came from a distance. Son of a bitch, stop it. When the voice first started, it was still very far away. In the blink of an eye, it was already close. Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Gireng's faces suddenly showed a trace of excitement and surprise. The next second, boom. With a loud bang, the extended Lincoln in front of the hall was instantly trampled into scrap metal. A figure, like a god descending from the sky, appeared in front of everyone. It was Su Chen. Chapter 124. Don't worry, you will die too. Su Chen arrived at the Zhao family villa. His face was gloomy, and the whole person was filled with murderous aura. When his ancient saw Su Chen, his body trembled uncontrollably. His fear of Su Chen was deeply imprinted in his bones. Su Chen! Zhou Wanqiu shouted excitedly with tears on her face. Zhao Gireng also spoke quickly. Zhou Chen, save your grandfather. Su Chen nodded at the two of them and said, don't worry, none of these scum can escape. Humph. Rang Ruai snorted coldly. What a big dog guts. What an arrogant tone. Are you Su Chen? Su Chen ignored him at all, but walked directly to Jiang Qingrang. Let go of Grandpa Zhao. Su Chen's eyes were cold. Jiang Qingrang looked at Su Chen and immediately remembered his dead precious 5-ring snake. Boy, you came at the right time. I was looking for you. As he spoke, he let go of the unconscious Zhao Rangchang. Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Gireng hurried over and put Zhao Rangchang safely on the ground. Su Chen looked at Jiang Qingrang coldly. Tell me, how do you want to die? Ha ha ha. Jiang Qingrang laughed. I have been in the martial arts world for many years, but this is the first time I have met an arrogant boy like you. As he spoke, Jiang Qingrang pointed at Su Chen and shouted, fall down. On the side, Rang Ruai showed a smug smile on his face. He had seen Jiang Qingrang's trick before. It can poison a master of Zhuanjin without knowing it. It can even knock down several masters of Zhuanjin at the same time. In his opinion, Su Chen was not prepared at all and would definitely be hit. Jiang Qingrang also had a smug smile on his face. When he pointed at Su Chen, he had already ejected the colorless and odorless poison from his fingernails. Next, he just had to wait for Su Chen to fall. 3 seconds passed. 5 seconds passed. 30 seconds passed. Jiang Qingrang's smile quickly froze on his face. The poison he carefully prepared could knock down a master of Zhuanjin in 5 seconds. However, Su Chen was fine now. He looked at Su Chen in shock. Su Chen's face was full of mocking smile. Is that all? Are you learning to talk? Jiang Qingrang's face turned pale. His hand was still pointing at Su Chen, and he was so embarrassed. He couldn't understand why his poison didn't work. Boy, you're looking for death. Jiang Qingrang roared, shook his sleeves, and threw dozens of poisonous insects directly towards Su Chen. The people around exclaimed and quickly dodged. Su Chen, however, looked indifferent and watched it all indifferently. Then, a scene that made Jiang Qingrang stunned happened. The poisonous insects he threw out didn't rush towards Su Chen at all, but stopped in front of Su Chen. The poisonous insects that originally ate flesh and drank blood only dared to circle around Su Chen and didn't dare to get close at all. Su Chen took 2 steps forward and directly stepped on all of Jiang Qingrang's poisonous insects. Ah! Bastard! Jiang Qingrang's eyes were red and distressed. These poisonous insects were all carefully fed by him, and they were the key to his practice of poison skills and improvement of cultivation. At this moment, most of them were trampled to death by Su Chen. Jiang Qingrang roared and rushed towards Su Chen. You son of a bitch, die. 5 poison palm. Jiang Qingrang gathered his 5 fingers into a palm, and wisps of black mist diffused from the black lines of his dry palm. A rotten smell instantly appeared in the air. People smelled it and felt dizzy and nauseous. Everyone hurriedly scattered around. Jiang Qingrang stomped on the ground, ejected, and hit Su Chen with 2 palms. Su Chen, be careful, Zhou Wanqiu reminded. However, Su Chen still did not move. Bang, bang. Jiang Qingrang's 2 5 poison palms were imprinted on Su Chen. Suddenly, a burning smell came, and Su Chen's clothes rotted directly. Jiang Qingrang was overjoyed. This move of 5 poison palm is extremely difficult to practice, and he has to endure the pain of being bitten by the 5 poisonous creatures day and night. But after practicing it, it is extremely powerful. The black spots on his hands can condense the 5 poisonous toxins. When ordinary Zhou Wanqiu masters smell the smell, their power will be greatly reduced. If they are touched by him, they will die without taking the antidote in time. Now, Su Chen, this arrogant fool, actually chose to take it hard. This is clearly seeking death. Rang Rui's and He Zhenchen showed joy on their faces. They looked at Su Chen, wanting to see him fall to the ground in pain. However, Su Chen still stood proudly on the spot. Is this all you have? Su Chen looked at Jiang Qingrang coldly. Then it's my turn. In an instant, Jiang Qingrang's face changed drastically. Just as he was about to withdraw, Su Chen had already made a lightning move and grabbed his neck. Are your poisonous insects very powerful? Su Chen shouted angrily and shook Jiang Qingrang's body lightly, and dozens of poisonous insects fell out. Everyone's face changed wildly. How could they have thought that Jiang Qingrang actually had so many poisonous insects on him? Su Chen first used silver needles to control the Zhou Wanqiu in Jiang Qingrang's body, then made several wounds on his body, and then threw him among the poisonous insects. Instantly, the poisonous insects smelling blood surrounded Jiang Qingrang. Ah! Jiang Qingrang screamed in pain. Zhou Wanqiu and Zhao Girang saw this scene and trembled with fear, but they felt a sense of revenge. Just now, Jiang Qingrang did this to Zhao Rangchang. Rang Rui's and He Zhenchen didn't dare to speak at all. Soon, Su Chen grabbed Jiang Qingrang again and shook him violently. All the poisonous insects on his body were shaken to death and fell to the ground. Jiang Qingrang's face was covered with blood and his whole body was trembling. However, Su Chen still didn't give up. Is your 5 poison palm very powerful? The next second, he directly grabbed Jiang Qingrang's palm and twisted it violently. Snap. Ah! Another scream. Jiang Qingrang's palm twisted at a weird angle. Is your poison very powerful? Su Chen asked again. Then, he punched Jiang Qingrang in the chest. Bang! A punch. There was a loud noise inside Jiang Qingrang's body, and his clothes exploded on the back. His heart was blown up. Su Chen let go, and Jiang Qingrang fell to the ground. His eyes were wide open, and he still couldn't figure out why his poison was ineffective against Su Chen. Rang Rui's and He Zhenchen were stunned on the spot. You actually killed Mr. Jiang? Rang Rui's voice trembled, as if he couldn't believe it. Su Chen looked at him and said lightly, don't worry. Not only him, you will die too. You dare to kill me? Rang Rui's took a step back and said fiercely. Even if Su Chen had killed Jiang Qingrang, he didn't believe that the other party dared to attack him. Su Chen smiled coldly and raised his hand suddenly. Rang Rui's felt a strong force coming, and before he could react, he was already pinched by Su Chen's neck. Feeling the pressure on his neck, Rang Rui's was finally scared. Su Chen, what do you want to do? Do you know who my father is? He shouted hoarsely. Who is your father? You have to ask your mother. This is her secret. Su Chen said coldly. After that, Su Chen exerted force on his hand. Crack. Blood gushed from the corner of Rang Rui's mouth. His head tilted, and he was no longer alive. Su Chen threw Rang Rui's casually, just like throwing away garbage, and threw him onto Jiang Qingrang's body. The 2 people who were so arrogant just now became 2 corpses in an instant. Everyone was stunned. Chapter 125 I killed 10 of them. In front of the villa hall, there was silence. No one thought that Su Chen would dare to kill Rang Rui's. The black-clad bodyguard driver brought by Rang Rui's trembled all over when he saw this scene. He didn't know how to explain to the Rang family after returning to the provincial capital. What's more terrifying is that he didn't know if he could go back alive. The black-clad bodyguard looked at Su Chen, but saw Su Chen waving at him. He trembled violently, but still stepped forward. The black-clad bodyguard almost cried, brother, spare my life. Don't worry. I won't kill you. Su Chen patted his shoulder. I have something to trouble you. The black-clad bodyguard hurriedly bowed and said politely, just give me your orders. Su Chen said indifferently, take these 2 bodies back to the provincial capital and tell the Rang family what happened here. Tell them that, if they want revenge, come to me. If they dare to attack the Zhao family, I will kill them all in the provincial capital. If they dare to touch 1 person from the Zhao family, I will kill 10 people from the Rang family. Do you understand? The black-clad bodyguard nodded repeatedly. I understand. Su Chen waved his hand. The black-clad bodyguard was as if he had been pardoned and immediately picked up the two bodies and ran away. Su Chen and the other two looked at He Zhenchen. He Zhenchen trembled all over, glanced at Su Chen, and saw that Su Chen's expression was half smile. The next second, he suddenly fell to the ground, kneeling on the ground and crying. Mr. Su, Miss Zhao, this was not my idea. Rang Rui's forced me to do this. He forced me to do all the things I did against the Zhao family in the past. He wanted to take advantage of the Zhao family's crisis and save the beauty to win Miss Zhao's heart. He forced me to do this. I had already decided to transfer the shares of his catering group to the Zhao family. Look, I brought all the contracts. As he spoke, He Zhenchen took out a stack of documents from his body. Zhou Wanqiu took a look and found that they were actually contracts for transferring the shares of his catering group to the Zhao family. Zhou Wanqiu was shocked. When Su Chen said this, she thought it was just bragging, but it turned out to be true. Su Chen sneered. This He Zhenchen is really an old fox, and he has prepared a way out for himself. Su Chen asked Zhou Wanqiu to check it, and both parties signed it directly. Mr. Su, I have transferred the shares of his catering group to Miss Zhao. Can you remove the poison from my body? I promise that I will never appear in front of you again, and never trouble you again. He Zhenchen promised again and again. You don't need to promise. Su Chen's expression was indifferent. I don't believe your promise. As soon as the voice fell, Su Chen struck out with a lightning palm. Ah! He Zhenchen screamed and fell to the ground and died. Zhou Wanqiu was also shocked by Su Chen's decisiveness. Didn't he transfer all the shares? Why did you kill him? Zhou Wanqiu was a little puzzled. Su Chen said lightly, this kind of tyrant character is generally not willing. If he has any tricks left, you will have a lot of trouble. If you take over his catering group, kill him, and there will be no tricks. Zhou Wanqiu nodded and looked at Su Chen deeply. This guy is quite thoughtful. At this time, Zhao Girang shouted anxiously, Zhao, come here and see your grandfather. Su Chen and Zhou Wanqiu's faces changed, and they ran over quickly. Su Chen walked in front of Zhao Rangchang, squatted down, and checked. How is it? Is the old man's body okay? Zhao Girang asked with red eyes. Su Chen said, don't worry. I'm here. Nothing will happen. As he spoke, Su Chen began to treat Zhao Rangchang. Not only did he use the 9 Extremes life-changing needle and 18 hands of Ghost Gate, Su Chen also let some of his blood out again and fed it to Zhao Rangchang. His blood has a good effect of expelling poison. This is also the reason why Jiang Qingrang's poison skill failed. When Su Chen finished his work and stood up, his face was slightly pale. On the side, Zhou Wanqiu asked with concern, are you okay? Su Chen smiled and said, nothing. I just squatted for a long time and felt a little dizzy. Zhou Wanqiu nodded with a hint of gratitude in his eyes, but he didn't say anything else. Su Chen stood firm and thought to himself. Recently, he had bled 3 times. His blood was precious. Continuous blood loss in such a short period of time was indeed a bit of a burden on the body. If there was a chance, he would try to replenish it. However, he didn't need to tell Zhou Wanqiu in detail about this matter. Afterwards, Su Chen sent Zhao Rangchang to the bedroom bed. Zhao Girang asked worriedly, Zhao, why hasn't your grandpa woken up yet? Zhou Wanqiu also looked over. Su Chen said, although Jiang Qingrang's poison skill doesn't have much effect on me, it is still very deadly to an ordinary old man like Grandpa Zhao. Now, although I have cleaned up the toxins in Grandpa's body, some neurotoxins have already affected him. If I want Grandpa to wake up, I still need to prepare some symptomatic herbs. Don't worry, I'll go to Huchen Pavilion to find Mr. Sun Zongjing to see if he has the herbs I want. Zhao Girang was relieved after hearing Su Chen's explanation. On the side, Zhou Wanqiu said angrily, it's Orang Rui's fault. Even his subordinates are such bastards. At this point, Zhou Wanqiu suddenly remembered something and said anxiously, Su Chen, the Rang family is the top family in the provincial capital. If you kill Rang Rui's, I guess they won't let you go. Wait until you have detoxified Grandpa, then hurry back to the village. Yes, yes. On the side, Zhao Girang also nodded. Zhao, the Rang family will definitely not let it go. You should hide as soon as possible. Su Chen shook his head and said, I won't leave. If I leave, they will definitely take revenge on you. If I'm here, they will definitely not dare to attack you before they have dealt with me. Zhou Wanqiu understood Su Chen's plan. However, she was quite dissatisfied with Su Chen's choice. She stared at him with her beautiful eyes and said, "Su Chen, you are showing off again. You don't understand how powerful the Rang family in the provincial capital is. This is a top family in the province. Like a big family like this, the family will worship some martial arts masters. Rang Ruiz is just a playboy, and he has masters like Jiang Qingrang around him. Just think about how powerful the entire Rang family will be. Don't show off, leave quickly. Our Zhao family has some friendship with the Yao family in the provincial capital. Before, when we confronted the Zhao family, the Yao family helped our Zhao family. With them speaking for our Zhao family, the Rang family will not go too far, so leave quickly." Zhou Wanqiu persuaded with a serious face. Su Chen looked at Zhou Wanqiu and almost laughed in his heart. The previous few times, the Yao family in the provincial capital helped the Zhao family, which was obviously to give face to himself. In order to persuade himself to go back, Zhou Wanqiu also raised the banner of the Yao family. If Su Chen didn't know the inside story, he might really be deceived by her. But this time, Su Chen killed Rang Ruiz and had a deep hatred with the Rang family. Even the Yao family couldn't intervene forcefully. Otherwise, it would be like declaring a complete war with the Rang family. Su Chen shook his head and rejected Zhou Wanqiu's kindness. Seeing Su Chen's attitude, Zhou Wanqiu was furious. "Show off. You only know how to show off. Let the Rang family beat you to death." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.